Welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast. I'm Jay Late Night Larson.
And I'm Lyndon Chalky Cabellion. In each episode, we will be talking to different surfers and surf shops to learn more about them and their passion for surfing. We will be diving deep into their experiences as well as their involvement and contributions to their local communities.
Be sure to check out our website and Instagram feed for updates on future shows. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to sharing these great stories with you. WaveKey was created by Brad Gerlach to help improve your surfing.
WaveKey is a land-based systematic surf training method.
For all surfers, for all levels.
Check out wavekey.com. That's WAVEKI.com. Pada Sushi, a new sushi place here at the Albertsons in Newland Center.
Your go-to spot for grab-and-go sushi, handmade, fresh daily.
You can get all your favorites or get something custom.
And make sure to stop by on Fridays for the $5 special.
Pada Sushi.
At Albertsons in the Newland Center off of Beach and Adams.
Foo Wax.
The wax that's found under all of the best surfers on the planet.
You mean Late Night?
Always under my feet.
And Chalky?
How do you think I pull those big airs?
And Layback Lars.
And those laybacks. Wait, whoa, we're not doing the 90s again, are we? I don't do those anymore.
Foo Wax, the best wax in the game.
Foo Wax.
Bonsai Balls.
They only use real acai, not like all those other imitators using sorbet full of sugar.
Yuck.
They also get their honey and bee pollen from a bee farm.
Healthy and delicious.
No processed honey. What also makes them amazing is that they roast and make their own peanut butter.
Damn! They've got 7 locations.
And download the Bonsai Bowl app to
skip the line.
Order
ahead. Bonsai Bowl. Healthy, delicious. Caliente Southwest Grill.
Healthy Mexican food featuring local organic ingredients. They also have great salads, vegetarian and gluten-free options.
Wow.
Yep.
Don't they also cater and make party packs?
They do. They have all your needs for all your events.
Nice.
Visit calientesouthwest.com.
Or go to the restaurant in Costa Mesa off of 17th Street.
Caliente Southwest. Ashland Hard Seltzer.
Crafted in San Diego. It's an adult beverage built for all walks of life. Bro, you've had it. I've had it. It's delicious.
It is so good.
It's refreshing. Only 100 calories, all organic, no sugar, also gluten-free with 0.0 carbs. Hashtag enjoy cold Ashland hard seltzer. There is a saying that you don't stop playing when you grow old, but rather you grow old when you stop playing.
Iconic Life is an adventure-driven company that seeks to embrace life to the fullest and to never stop playing.
Check out their natural hemp CBD products that help those that believe in that philosophy.
Check out iconic.com.
Spelled IKANIK. Again, iconic.com.
Or on their Instagram at Iconic Life.
Friends and family, brothers and sisters, welcome to the Late Night with Chalky podcast.
Okay, get out of here.
Woo! Girl.
That was Emery Piper Cabellion. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Future star.
Future star. Already a star, really.
Already a star. So cute.
Wow.
Well, this week's guest has a wide variety of accomplishments.
Like, wow.
Wow. I'm sure we're going to hear some fascinating stories for sure. He's the son of a pro skater. I don't know if we've had that on here yet.
Not the son of a pro skater.
Yeah.
We've had pro skaters, but not sons of pro skaters.
Actor,
Who became a
surfer, stuntman. Actor.
These are
And actor?
Yeah. Stuntman, kind of.
stuntman
Reality-
more than actor, to be honest.
Reality star.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't forget that one.
Hawaii State Amateur Champ.
Yep.
Dude.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah. He surfed a 7-mile wave called the Silver Dragon.
Yep.
What?
In China.
I can't wait to hear about
How'd
that.
you guys find
Hey,
all this information?
and-
I didn't know this, dude.
And he's probably mostly known and recognized and responsible for creating the most famous ramps and wedges, allowing surfers to push the limit to what is possible above the lip.
Did you write that yourself?
I know it's really, really bad, huh?
Wow. No, it's really good.
I'm redder than I am.
Okay,
like I usually am. I'm
this
blushing.
is even better. His official professional title is CHO. Do you know what that stands for? Not chief officer of some sort, but it's kind of
CHO?
yeah.
Okay.
CHO.
Chief Hydro Officer.
Whoa.
Hydro.
Yes. And he's a founding partner at Palm Springs Surf Club. We welcome Cheyne RedTide Magnusson.
You hear that, people?
Yeah.
Cheyne RedTide Magnusson.
All of those crazy errors you've seen in the last few years is because of this genius over here behind the computer of some sort. I don't know. We're going to hear about it.
Oh man, I'm flattered. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I didn't even realize you were gonna dig that deep on me. But hey, right?
this
Guilty.
Yeah.
This is about your body of work since being a Grom and moving over to Maui at a young age.
Yes, I'm honored.
Yeah.
Right on.
Hey, this
Right
is
on.
it's been a while since we've
been hounding him.
been hounding him for a while, and he's been busy.
He big timed me on DM.
Yeah. But you've been busy doing all the things you need to do to get.
Dude,
Wait,
you got to wear a lot of
PSSC?
hats. PSSC.
PSSC.
Yeah. Palm Springs Surf Club, PSSC, The Wave in the Desert,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and you just got back from Atlanta, or
I was in Atlanta in December,
Yeah.
working with doing the stunt thing out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
and
Sick.
you live pretty much on the premises in Palm Springs.
I
right?
live in the desert and have been for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of got to go all in on these things. Like, we kind of learned that at BSR. You really want to be there from the ground up if you're going to be operating these systems because, dude, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when things go wrong, which they will,
Yeah.
you want to at least be able to know how bad it is or isn't and who to call.
Okay.
Or
but
if
before
you
we
can
get
do-
all
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
before we get to present day, Cheyne RedTide Magnusson, let's start the beginning. Where did it start for you in surfing?
Wow, that's a good one. Actually started in Maui surfing.
Were you born in Maui? Or?
I was not born in Maui. I was born in San Diego, and so was brother Clay. And we lived in Pacific Beach. And when I was super young, I skated. Right, my dad was a pro skater. So
Can we talk about that real quick?
yeah,
So your dad is Tony Magnusson,
correct.
and he was a pro skater during the time that Tony Alva.
He's the generation after them.
After, okay.
Yeah, so he's from Sweden, native. Moved over here when he was like 16, 17, just to pursue skating. And, at the time that was not like, it wasn't like it was today where, there's, tons of big brands in there. It was,
Yeah.
It was right after Dogtown,
Yeah.
I guess Alva actually visited his hometown. And there was a group of them that had like a little skate culture in Stockholm. And he left and he basically told them like, hey, if you want to do something in skating, like SoCal is where you got to be.
Yeah.
And so him and a couple buddies just moved out here and, that's
So
it.
Tony Alva, he met Tony Alva, and he said, "Come west, young man." And
Yeah, exactly.
Make a name for yourself.
Exactly.
Sick.
And he was a vert guy. So, he was also...
Everyone was a vert guy back
I think
then.
that was
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
Yeah, transition. Like, he was
Yeah.
a big Del Mar guy, the keyhole
Yeah.
and all that. Like,
Yeah.
there's photos of, me on the nose of his board, dropping in at the keyhole when I was like 4 and all this stuff. So
That's rad.
he used to put me on the nose of the board, skate around. I've been on a board, before I could walk. Like,
Yeah.
literally, I'll probably give you guys this photo, but
Yeah.
a stroller was, an old 80s shape. I think it was Uncle Wiggly, and he mounted a chair on it with
Yeah.
a little strap, and he would bomb hills with like a leash attached to the nose and
Oh
just
my
pull me
God.
on it. Yeah,
But
I don't
you're-
remember this. I just have photos.
That's so
Like your
epic.
dad was a big deal in skateboarding.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a legend for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Because I'm a little older than you guys, just a little, but I remember seeing him in all the skateboarder and all that.
yeah. No,
So-
he's gnarly.
Yeah.
He was known for big airs.
Did he surf too, or?
Didn't really get into the surf thing. He can, but it never was his thing.
Yeah.
I think he would get frustrated of the whole like learning curve because it's so slow.
Yeah.
Because he's obsessed with like
Perfection.
perfection, competitor. I mean, dude, I don't think he ever let me win anything ever.
Yeah.
You know, and so like going out and getting beat up by the ocean, you know, it takes a.
Yeah.
If you don't do it when you're young, you know, it can
Yeah.
be really hard on, you know,
Yeah.
the ego and stuff. So,
But he was successful, and turned it into some companies. And
Yeah, he had a lucrative career.
Yeah.
he was the founder of H Street Skateboards.
H Street.
Yeah,
And that was a huge, like, 90s brand.
yeah, it was more 80s, but it was the big thing with H Street was it was the first rider owned and operated. So you had like Sims and, you know, what were the other guys back then?
Sam Cruz back then? No, were they around?
Sanchez
Bane,
was around, but yeah.
you know, all those brands from like the Dogtown era, and all those were owned by, you know, business guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
And
Powell, right? Was
Yep.
George Powell that was
yeah.
kind of an older dude that started a skateboard brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have my dad and this guy, Mike Ternansky, who joined forces and built this team, which, you know, they were responsible for Danny Way, Matt Hensley, Eric Costin rode for H Street. All these guys that have just are complete legends, you know? And they owned and operated it, and they were a huge overnight success, kind of due to a lot of the videos they made. Like, when I think about it, and I'm not sure if he would agree, but you know the Lost videos, like what's really going wrong,
All the classics.
Love them.
Yeah, and just the vibe of those,
Raw.
like that was the H Street skate videos.
Yeah.
You know, when they came out, like Hocus Pocus, Shackle Me Not,
And-
Next Generation.
Yeah, and that's why I said 90s, because that brand kind of transcended into the 90s.
Yep.
Like you said, Costin and
But
Hensley,
but that timing was when the VHS recorder, and you were able to, obviously, your marketing is what what content you could get, not just putting a mag,
and
add
it
a
wasn't
mag.
it wasn't vert skating anymore. It was more.
It was kind of
Yeah.
it was a blend, you know, and that was the funny thing with my dad and Mike. Mike was all into the street, and my dad was always a vert dog, so
Perfect blend.
it was a great blend. But they would always kind of fight for, you know, who got the exposure, this, that, and the other thing. And interesting fun fact about those two, they ended up splitting business relationship, and Mike took most of the team and started Plan B.
Wow.
And that's where Plan B started. So it
Dang.
all stemmed from there.
Got it.
This is my plan B. Split up, start over.
Yeah.
Backup
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And he told me that was the name that they came up with together if H Street didn't work. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but
Yeah.
you know, So he nabbed like all the heavies and went and did Plan B, and
That kind of happened a lot in skateboarding.
yeah.
I think,
It happens in
as a
business.
business, owner and entrepreneur, how hard it is to work with people. You might have the same vision, and then, you get sidetracked, and
Oh my
it's-
God.
It's definitely,
I'm living it.
yeah.
So what happened, or why did your dad move to Maui? That's a trippy place for a skateboarder.
So he didn't.
Oh, he
So my mom and him split when I was real young.
Okay.
And it was a pretty nasty divorce, and it got so bad that she actually moved us to Hawaii to get away from him. And those are things that happen.
Yeah.
She had full custody of me, so we took off and started this new life in Hawaii.
No other siblings between that mom and dad.
No.
And then your mom.
Then my mom remarried this guy Gino, who's super awesome,
Yeah.
and they had two kids together. My younger brother Clay,
Yep.
Marzo. That's
Yep.
why he has a different name, because he has a different dad, but
Yeah.
we're the same mom. And then my younger sister Gina, and obviously Clay.
Yeah.
Kidding me? Like,
Crazy.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Clay Marzo
Half brother.
is your half brother?
I
Yes.
know, right?
Holy shnikes!
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I knew, but I wasn't for sure, because I never, until I started doing some research, I'm like, I remember hearing that, but it was never brought
So
to light.
he's your half brother?
Yeah.
And you grew up together in the same household?
We lived in the same room. We slept in the same futon. We had a
Wow.
2-bedroom growing up, so me and Clay shared a room. Yeah.
So crazy.
This is kind of mind blowing right now.
And what
phenomenal talent between both of you, and he's a freak
He's a freak.
in a good way.
He's got no
Like-
Magnusson
No.
gene.
No.
So you're a freak and he's a freak.
Yeah.
It must be your mom.
Dude, she's gonna be so stoked you just said that, right? Because she's like, your dad always gets all the credit for all that.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
gonna say it's your mom,
obviously
man.
it's not.
Which is hard because dad pro skater and like the genes, and then here mom's producing another freaking superstar.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
she's like, hey, Shane's cool, but Clay's cool too, bro.
Yeah. The funniest thing was when he finally got into surfing, like we've always been like me and the guys I grew up with, like, Tom Doslin, Ian Walsh. There's this kid, Ryan Jung, that not a lot of people know of in our town, and he was a freak, man. He was like limber gymnast guy, and he was the guy who kind of pushed me at a young age, and we started trying airs because we were watching the Lost videos and Momentum and all that stuff.
Let's go back though. So how old were you when you first started surfing? When did you move to Maui?
We moved to Maui. I was 6. Clay was 1. We moved into this little place called Puamana in the town of Lahaina. And it's this little like connected townhouses, like vacation rental, really cool little neighborhood. And there's 3 different waves there. And it's actually the perfect place to learn to surf because there's a full-on beginner, just soft roller whitewater. And then there's a mushy right. And then there's a more kind of high performance right. It's almost like lowers, but half the length.
Wow.
And every single
Summer swells,
south swell. These are all south swells, and every single right at that wave has a left that comes into it at the end, and it's like
Ramp
my favorite
City.
Ramp City.
Oh my god!
And here's the ironic thing: the name of that wave is the pool.
The pool?
It's super weird. Like,
Holy smokes!
It's a premonition.
yeah.
Wow.
So there's in this little like neighborhood we grew up in, because it was like vacation rentals and stuff, there was little pools kind of peppered throughout the neighborhood. And that wave, there's a pool on the ocean, like literally a seawall. Like at high tide, the waves will crash into it and like, spray into the pool. So that's why it's called the pool. But it's just ironic that I end up doing this wave pool stuff.
Yeah.
Just still
We're
my
not gonna
favorite,
talk about
one of my
that yet.
favorite waves.
We're not going to talk about that yet.
No, I know. Just
so how old were
fun
you
fact.
when you first started?
Okay.
Did you boogie board first?
I did.
Okay.
So I was super into boogieing, dude.
Yeah?
There's like little shore break right there.
We all did. We all did.
We all did, right?
I got yelled at for boogie boarding.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you surf? You're standing up on the boogie board. I'm like,
I can do you one better. I even rollerbladed for a little bit. I was psyched on rollerblading.
We didn't need to hear that. We did not need to hear that.
you got a sweet pair of inlines, bro.
I legit got like yelled at by my dad for rollerblading, and that was the end of that. Like he was over it, dude. Like,
I would have been too if I was Tony Magnusson.
Yeah.
No kid of mine could
like-
be a roller.
It's like riding a razor.
Fruit booter?
Totally.
When the kids are ripping in the skate
Totally.
park and a kid with the razor comes by, you're like, what a...
What happened was Mighty Ducks came out, and in Maui there's not a ton to do, and we all were so psyched on Mighty Ducks, and like they had a rollerblade scene in there, and then we all got into rollerblading for a hot minute.
Oh, that's epic.
Yeah.
The show's about surfing though, so
Fun facts. Fun facts.
so
Oh
you boogie boarded, you were totally into it, but then
Yeah.
surf.
So one day, me and that guy Ryan, who I referred to, we were, we had this rule where we couldn't go into the ocean unless there was a parent around.
Oh, yes.
Well, we were just right.
Why? Sketchy.
Yeah, and we were hanging out at the house. Parents were kind of not paying attention. We're like, let's go boog. They're not looking. Like, let's ditch out and go to the beach and catch some waves. And we start looking for our bugs, and we couldn't find them. And there was this shed, and my stepdad was a surfer, so we opened the shed, and there's these boards in there, surfboards, older. I think it was a surf club, the one I had, and he had like a Minami or something, like a really old 80s one. And we're like, okay, let's try surfing. Like, so we just took the boards out.
How old were you?
Out. We were 8.
8.
Yeah.
Still pretty.
Which is Hawaii, that's pretty average. Here it'd be a little early, but you're in tropical water, you're kind of living at the beach.
Dude,
so it'd
fully.
be, no brainer.
Yeah, and we just rocked out into, close out whitewaters and started going. And both of us, we're young, we both had talent, so stood up, and I remember standing up and still can think of it that day, where you're just, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, sold.
You
just
stood up and
done.
you're going down the line.
Yeah,
like,
done. That's it.
Cutting
And
into the wave.
Haven't stopped.
Just that perception of like being that low to the water on a boogie and then standing up just feels, way more exhilarating, but
Totally.
but you also are going faster at the same time, regardless. You know.
So you were into skateboarding already too, though, right?
Yeah.
So you knew,
always.
and you knew how to skateboard. Obviously, your dad probably got you on a skateboard early.
He took me on the 8th Street European tour when I was like 5 or 6.
Wow.
So if you watch Next Generation, I actually have like a segment, like a full section to the Sesame Street song.
No way.
It's pretty epic, dude.
What's the movie called? Next Generation?
Next Generation. It's an 8th Street one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to find that
Were you going? Your dad stayed in San Diego.
Dad stayed.
Were
in
you
San
going
Diego.
back and forth for summer or holidays?
So, like I said, those two were like pretty bitter at each
Yeah.
other, so she kind of didn't let me go for a while. And I started going to visit him in like 4th, 5th grade, one of those, like 9, 10.
Yeah.
And then it became every winter vacation, every summer vacation, I'd come to Cali. And, you know, we would do Big Bear in the winter. And then in the summer, because he didn't like to surf, like I pretty much, after nationals, because I always had to do nationals, and that was like right when I would come over here. After that, skating only. Like, you'd never take me to the beach, skate park. But I was fine with it because it was so
It
sick.
probably honed
you
your
had
skills for
you had the
everything else.
Probably the best access to all the the most badass ramps and parks and
Always.
everything.
Your dad was an avid snowboarder too?
He was. He actually was in like Winter X Games at one point for
Dang,
crossover. Like he did. They used to have a crossover and they did vert and then park or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think he got 3rd or 2nd in that. I can't remember the guy who won, like Brian something. There's always those guys that, they're really good at all 3.
Yeah.
And then there's guys that are really good at 2 and not at 1.
Yeah.
Troy
But
Eckert.
Yeah.
Eckert, Mike Morrissey.
Yeah.
Mike Morrissey.
Wow.
Those guys dominated.
Incredible.
H2O.
Yeah.
So going back, you and your buddy Ryan got hooked on surfing.
Sold. Just instantly.
Stopped boogie boarding.
Done.
Yeah.
All we wanted to do was surf. And then we had another buddy, Kai, who lived in the same neighborhood. He was a little older than us, and he already had his own custom board, and that was the big next step, right?
Yeah.
Like, custom board.
Who was a shaper then?
He was getting boards from Timponi. I can't
That was
remember.
my first sponsor.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah.
Dude!
Swear.
That's what's up!
Dude, I
way.
got one in my garage. Was it you that found it?
Yeah.
Dude,
So
right here. He's
we
at a
have,
garage sale. Sorry, we
just
got another guest here. Yeah.
Who is our sponsor?
Yeah. Iconic.
Well, Brent Futagaki is Iconic Life, and they're one of our big sponsors of the show.
Yeah, check him out.
But he found Brent. You found the board.
Yeah, that was my first board, and you saw me out there, and you're like, "Wait, it's my board," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
When,
And
way
I-
back in the day, or like lately?
No,
No,
back in the day.
way back,
wow.
but he ended up giving it to me, and it was an old Timponi.
Yeah.
And it had yellow and blue, super ugly, but it was the Tom Carroll swoosh, but
Yeah.
I did both. I colored the whole thing.
No way.
Yeah, it's
Dude, that's
it's
so insane.
it's so
It was
you,
insane.
I didn't think too many people not from Maui knew about
Yeah.
Timponi. I had
Well,
no idea.
Timponi's from California, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he's from here, but
He started off.
yeah, he was a shaper here, and the Surf, which was a surf shop owned by
Quito.
Quito-san. Yeah, and anyway,
Tom
so
Curran rode for.
yeah, Tom Curran and Deffenbaugh brothers, Jeff and Barry Deffenbaugh, and they brought me under their wing, and
Deffenbaugh
we all
was
rode
gnarly.
for Timponi.
Yeah. No
And
But
so-
again, this
That's
show's
so
not
cool.
about
then he
Jay
moved to
Larson.
Maui.
This show's not a bit about Jay Larson or Futagaki.
Gotta
or
let the legend
Timponi.
speak, though,
Yeah.
dude. Come on.
Dude, Timponi.
Late night.
Well, Maui. I mean, the guy dominates over there on all the equipment.
Yep. He was our buddy had Timponi, and we didn't get Timponis.
It's so awesome.
My that's so classic, dude. My mom was like, I'm not gonna get you a custom because I don't know how long you're gonna be in the surf thing, but you can go get a used board from Local Motion. That was our main surf shop when we were that young in Lahaina. And I remember we went in and I picked one out off the rack. I believe it was a Chuck Andrus.
Yeah.
Which is like, the Hawaiian warrior
Yeah.
helmet, and it
Yeah.
was yellow. And I got it, and we turned it over, and we looked at, you can see who it's for or what the dims are, and it was for Eric Diaz. And that at the time was like the young guy in Maui. And that's, if a lot of people probably don't know this, that's Billy Kemper's older brother.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Eric Diaz was the guy to beat. He was like 3 years older than I was.
Yeah.
And somehow, just by chance, his used board, he rode for Locomotion, so his board was on the rack. I got it, brought it home, and I remember I kept it in my room, waxed it up.
Slept with it.
Yeah. No, straight up, dude. Like, it was just like, you're just obsessed, right?
Yeah.
Like, it had little pressures, and you're just feeling every inch of it.
Yeah.
And so had that
That's
one.
what she said.
Hey, it's a family show.
Right?
Look that, bro.
So we'll edit that out. So was that a thruster? Was it
Thruster.
Okay.
Yeah. Glass-ons, obviously. Everything
Yeah,
was
that's-
glass-ons back then. Which,
Yeah.
dude, I really want to get another glass-on talking about. I've been meaning to, but
We've
anyway.
been, a couple people have been saying that lately.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
almost, it's really hard probably to find those like, laminated hot coaters and sanders that could
Dude.
actually like do it because they're
It's a lost art.
It is. I think it
Yeah.
is. It's rare.
It's pretty crazy to think that, right? Because
Yeah.
back then, that was it. So that was my first board. Had it for a long time. It was a 5.4. I remember that.
Nice.
Yep, 5.4. That was like the magic number. And then my buddy Ryan ended up getting one not long after that. I can't remember what he had, but then after that one, I got my first custom, and that was from Mark Anderson. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of
Mark
him.
Anderson.
Sounds familiar.
He's a legend on the west side of Maui specifically. Hawaii in general, but really the west side. So he shapes under the label Honolulu Underground, and it was sick. He had this white tip shark as his logo, and it was just badass. And he did like this really cool, custom paint job on it, like drips and all this stuff. And that was my first custom, and that was the board I ended up entering my first contest on, and then I got sponsored. And that
Nice.
was the start.
Just like that.
Yeah, it happened just like that. It was
So what was the first contest?
Lahaina Harbor. So Locomotion had a contest every summer in Lahaina at the harbor, and it was the only contest we had on the west side of Maui. And that's where Lahaina is. That's where Honolulu
Yeah.
Bay is and all that. All our other contests were in Hokipa, which is like the windsurfing mecca of the world.
Of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a really tough place to compete and surf, especially if you didn't surf it
A lot of
every day.
water and wind and
Weird boils
Yeah.
and all this stuff, and all the Hokipa kids really like to sit on you and kind of gang up and everything. So you kind of you learn to be scrappy in that area. But when the comps came to the harbor, it
Yeah.
was like it was on.
Payback.
so
Yeah.
so was the amateur was it HSA or HSSA or was there
It was actually HASA back then, HASA,
okay HASA that was
Hawaii
it.
Amateur Surfing
Yeah.
Association. Yeah.
And then you guys would have a couple events on Maui, but then you had to travel to
So-
Oahu.
So no HASAs on Maui, no NSSAs on Maui when I
Wow.
grew up. Yeah,
Yeah, I
all
remember,
of them on Oahu.
We had Kim Ball on
Kim's awesome.
Yeah,
from High Tech.
Yep.
And he was baffled on
high school, the amateur.
and he was fighting for like why can't we have
Yeah.
He was a huge advocate for getting surfing accepted into this program called MIL, Maui Interleague.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
which
then
is
you're-
over here. It's the CIF.
CIF,
Yeah, where you compete against the other schools along the coast. And
Yep. And Kim.
it's legit.
It's legit,
Yeah,
right? Like
through
you
the
get.
academics.
Scholastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So-
we even made nationals for our high school in Lahaina one year, and for every kind of sport, category, if you made it to a state or a national event, you'd get this big white bar on the L that was on the hill above Lahaina. If you've ever been to
Wow.
Lahaina, there's a giant L up there. That's for the high school. And each sport, they get a bar if you make it to this certain level. We made it to nationals, which none of the other sport categories ever made it to nationals in anything. And because we weren't in the MIL, we didn't get a bar, so that was like a big deal. But Kim was able to get it accepted not long after I graduated, so he's a huge, just a legend in Maui surfing and
just the community involvement that he's done and the support. Yeah, I mean,
totally.
He was that big.
So you were saying you surfed your first contest
Yep.
and then you got sponsored. What'd you get in the contest?
What did I get? I got second in that one
Nice.
to this
Who-
kid
who
Luke
beat you?
Gordon. Luke Gordon.
Okay.
And he was Eric Diaz's age, so he was a little older than me.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the hot guy from our side before me and that kid Ryan got into it. And there was another kid, Adam Hildebrand, and all these guys. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Talking about it because I forgot all these names a little bit, you know.
But
Because
that's your rolling, that's your crew. Like you guys probably ran, let's just run a heat every day in the afternoon after school. These are the the guys that push each other.
100%. And all the guys that were like good at surfing on the west side, like we were all kind of the, not the popular kids. We like Luke introduced me to like Slayer and Iron Maiden and all that stuff. Like we weren't listening to like reggae like all the other kids in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like, we were fully the anti,
It's funny, right? Like,
it's so random.
We talk about how different beach towns are. So, even surfers, right? In general,
Fully.
You like in skateboarding, there's fresh guys and hesh guys.
Yep.
In surfing, there's kind of the same thing too.
Yeah.
But even like how far is the west side from the other side?
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Completely different crew though.
Yeah.
And you don't always mix, right?
You don't always mix. No, we all like loved each other from Maui, because you had the Lahaina guys, the West Side guys, and then you had the Ho'okipa guys, and then you had the Hana guys. And those guys were nuts. I mean, that's Hank and Ola and those kids.
Yeah.
And
Is that more country?
dude, it's like there's people from Hawaii and then there's people from Hana. And like they are the coolest people ever, but like to get to Hana from Lahaina, it's like close to 4 hours. So you get past Ho'okipa and there's this thing called the Road to Hana and it's a 30-mile stretch and it's like just in and out, in and out, in and out.
It's off the grid.
Yeah. It's way off the grid, So those guys, like you go visit there and it's so rad and there's cool little waves and there's cow pastures and you're in a rainforest, waterfalls everywhere. And then you go back to kind of Lahaina, Ho'okipa, wherever, and there's Costco and there's all your normal stuff. Those guys don't, like, there's 2 stores.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so
it's country.
It's country, dude.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough good things about the people from Hana, but like, dude, they're just totally their own little tribe.
Yeah.
And it's rad.
I think we had a couple Huntington guys move there. Like
to Hana?
Yeah, like I think I don't want to say his name because I don't want to get it wrong, but yeah, I think had a couple.
Probably
guys.
just never heard from him again. Too.
Yeah,
he's just out
pretty
there.
much.
They just disappeared.
Well,
Dude,
yeah,
that's where you go if you want to disappear, dude. Go to Hana.
Yeah.
Like you're good. You're off on your own little zone over there.
So
it's all good.
The competitive bug hit you?
Yes.
Who was your first sponsor?
First sponsor was actually Lassen, Hawaii. I don't know if
Lassen.
you guys remember?
Chris
I
Lassen.
remember
Yeah.
like Conan rode for them, and they had a couple other guys.
It was the Wormhouse, I think, up in Mavs. You know those Big Wave brothers? I know they were on the program. Conan was obviously the marquee guy.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who else. But
How old were you? Like
10.
Fudge.
Yeah.
That's young.
And it was a double down because I got Lassen and then I got my first board sponsor that same contest, and that was the more important one because I ended up staying with him through like all my amateur career, and that was Matt Kinoshita. And
I've heard of him.
Yeah, Kazuma, that's the shaping label.
Yeah.
And that guy is responsible for pretty much all the kids underneath us who were like the generation that blew up Maui, Barger, Clay rode for him, Dusty, and when we were riding for him, it was he had every good kid on Maui.
Yeah.
He had Hank Gaskell, he had Ola Ellagram, he had me, he had Ian Walsh, he had Tom Doslin for a little while. And then he had all the good girls too that were coming up from Maui. There was all these other girls. And he took the whole young, high-performance amateur surfing community under his wing. He'd have us all stay at his house. His house had his shaping room. He'd work with us and coach us and take us out and scare the shit out of us in big waves. And, I mean, he is just, I cannot say enough about that guy. Like, he's responsible for a lot of really good surfers.
Yeah.
What a good
That's
niche,
awesome.
though. Well, obviously the give back and the help, like bring up those generations.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to shape I mean, it's one thing to shape a board for an adult, but to fine tune like a
Groms?
little grom,
Yeah.
you know, like it's a whole learning curve.
He was so
Dominating.
good. Dominating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'd take us to Oahu, you know, because we had to go
As a
over there.
chaperone for events and stuff.
Fully.
That's epic.
Fully. And then on the Lassen side of things, the guy who was running the team over there, and you might know this guy, Rick Iaconetti.
Yeah, he lived at Lassen's house
Yep.
on the North Shore. Rick, and did he get you working out and like got a train? That guy was
Totally.
like, he was probably 50 when he was
Yeah.
Like-
and like
ripped.
ripped.
Yeah.
So he was on the Lassen program,
Ripped
which
Rick.
you know, when I was younger, it was like,
Yeah.
you don't really know these things. But thinking about it now when I'm older, I'm like, yeah, that was probably a trippy program. Like, he was living at his house in Lahaina, and he had this insane, like, oceanfront property at this wave shark pit.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I got on the team, he's like, yeah, I'm here most of the year. You know, I rode my bike to and from school, and I would pass his house. And he's like, hey, whenever you're passing by, you know, you want to check the waves or whatever, just stop in. So I just stopped by on my way home from school all the time, and he always hooked up Doritos, and he always had some like hot, like,
Yeah.
like
So Rick.
I'm thinking about it now, like I think I know, you know?
I don't
Because
know.
if you don't know, Christian Reese Lassen is like one of the
Creep.
crazy famous artists,
Yeah.
like, you know.
Creep.
Yeah, and that.
I don't, you know, and it's probably a good way and a bad way. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I went to his North Shore house quite often because Rizal somehow
Knew him.
befriended, and got to stay there for free. And
Yeah.
Rick was the property, you know, kind of enforcer, caretaker,
Yeah.
and you know, Lassen again, you know,
Dude.
an extraordinary, like, famous, successful, you know, artist, and he had houses all
Everywhere.
over the place in Hawaii.
Yep.
And the North Shore, Rick, you know, managed it. And
Yep.
So tell us about
So
that
sick.
that sponsorship. Like, how did it happen? And
So got second in the contest, and Rick was there, and Matt was there, and Matt had, you know, a crew of his team that he was coaching, and just after I got second, you know, they came up to me and said, hey, you know, like, we work for Lassen, and Matt was like, hey, you know, like, I want to maybe make you a board, and I was freaking out.
Yeah.
You know, just like,
You were 10.
Yeah, I was psyching.
Yeah.
You know, like, this guy wants to make me a surfboard. Like, and I remember I saw his boards in High Tech, Kim Ball's store, and hearing like, oh, this is the guy that makes the really good high performance boards, you know?
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, there was a moment where, because I had my custom from Mark Anderson, who is the West Side shaper, and he actually hit up my mom after that contest too, and you know, was like, hey,
whoa,
could have this
yeah,
guy.
two shapers fighting for.
And so I had to make kind of a decision, you know. And I remember Matt drove out from Hokipa, picked me up, took me over to Hokipa, got me on a board, and surfing with him, just that experience and that day and the knowledge, and you know, I just knew like this is the way
guy.
to go. Yeah, the boards were a little lighter, a little more high performance, like the rails and everything, you know. And I just went from there.
Was I always like to get the perspective of like parents when you got like a kid that's now, you know, because shelling out money for boards and clothes, you know, every parent knows the expense, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, you're gonna get free clothes and a free board and you know?
Cha-ching!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or less cha-ching.
Parents were psyched.
Yeah.
psyched, right?
So
Yep.
tell us about Lassen, because I remember Lassen was like kind of a funky brand, right?
I mean, when you're 10 and
Yeah,
you're
it's
getting
killer
free
'cause you're
clothes,
getting
you're
free
just
clothes.
like, this is the sickest thing ever, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember you had this weird, like, cartoony dude on a lot of the
Yeah.
shirts, and I didn't know what to do.
It was a lot of like, not cartoon, but like art.
You know what it is?
of
Kind of like
scenes.
Rietveld.
Yes,
It
that's
was
what
like
I was
one
gonna
of
say.
like similar.
Rietveld and Weiland, like
yes.
like real like, you know,
Just real art
scenery,
driven. Scenery.
a lot of scenery stuff.
Totally.
So, and you're 10, and probably what that was. I mean, surf brands were Quicksilver.
Yes.
You know, Billabong.
Yep.
So to go, oh wait, I'm gonna ride for Lassen, which I'm not talking down on it, but
No.
you know what I mean. Like,
Totally.
it's an opportunity.
Hawaii brand, you know, like
Yeah.
essentially a Hawaii brand.
So what?
Yeah.
Do you remember your first box and putting your first sticker on your board?
Yeah. Yeah, totally, dude.
Yeah.
Totally. Yako freaking came over and hooked up some clothes and stickers. You got to put these on your board, and been doing it ever since. And I still suck at doing it. I get air bubbles everywhere. I don't do it anymore, but, I never got good at putting stickers on. I was always the guy with air bubbles.
Was there like, we're going to pay for the contest entries and stuff, anything like that, or just?
So I think so. I think they did pay entries. But when and Yako took me over to he's all, hey, we got to get you to Oahu to get you in HASAs and in SSAs to start, seeing if you can qualify for states and then nationals. Yeah. And we still had to pay for the plane tickets and everything, but I believe they did cover the entry fees and all that.
Because it's growing up here, it's like hey, what parent or what older brother or whoever's going to drive you, up and down the coast. Over there, you gotta hop on a freaking plane, and then go, and then you still have to get a rental car.
Island hop, bro.
Yeah, island hop,
fully. And back then, dude, like now inter island tickets, they're like upwards of $200. Back then, they had coupons.
Yeah,
you could buy a book of coupons.
I did.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, did you call your dad when you got your sponsors?
Yeah. We always talked about that stuff.
How proud and stoked were you though?
I was pumped, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I was psyched, but I've always been kind of whatever got into. I was like, let's go compete. Like, let's go see how far we can take this. You know. So I was really excited to start doing the bigger competitions on Oahu and whatnot.
And who was the guys like? You were like other islanders, like Hawaii, obviously big island, and Oahu being the main islands. But
Daniel Jones, Joel Centeo, Sean Moody.
Dang.
Yeah, Evan Valier, Danny Fuller, Jamie O'Brien.
Yeah.
He was a nightmare in heats. I love him, but holy crap, man. He's a tough one in heats.
He was a dick.
I mean, we were all dicks.
you were.
Yeah, you had to be. You know?
had to be.
Makua, that was a fun one. Triangled him, first event I ever did over there in Waikiki. He wanted to fight me when we came in. I was like 10. I didn't even know what to do.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Makua, who
Did
else?
you do it on purpose?
No, I mean, I think he
was aggressive.
Well, I look like this, right? And I'm growing up in Hawaii. And back then I had even more red hair.
Yeah, ginger. He was ginger.
Full blown, dude.
Yeah.
Right? So first competition's at Queens in Waikiki. And like I know the rules. Like I think this was like my third comp ever. And we're out at Queens, and it's a right, and I know that I have position, and he's kind of looking at me paddling, and I got the inside, and he's kind of giving me the moke stare, and like kind of like paddling aggressively.
Don't go, bro.
And I'm like,
don't go.
I'm like, you're gonna burn me. Like that's fine if you want to get disqualified, So he burns me, and I go, and I just surf, and he gets triangled and loses the heat. He's so all bent on the beach because he got in before me, and I remember like it's just, what, and I'm like 10. I'm like, holy shit, like this guy's pissed. And luckily, one of the older guy who Matt sponsored that was kind of above Eric Diaz in Maui is Kai Henry.
Kai Henry was a big boy.
So he rode for Matt, and he was there, and he knew Makua and Eddie obviously, And I remember he looked over at Makua. He's like, hey, Makua, just chill, And I was like, oh God, thank God for Kai, because I was getting all scared and everything. And it was funny, like he got all bent at me, and then later in the day when the sting goes away if you lose a heat, you're kind of salty for a while. We ended up hanging out because it was Hawaii always these weird popular toys like yo-yos or like the stick thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I had my like stick thing, and he was like, oh, I want to play with it, and then we became buddies, and it was all good.
I mean, heat of the moment. You want to win, but at the same time, you're grown. You just want to play and have fun.
Fully. But that was how I met McCoy.
Oh, I got There's guys I remember growing up with, competing with, and they were like, way more mature than some of us. I was a late bloomer, and you were just like,
somewhat way more serious than
steam coming out, and like
totally.
I would be like, oh man, I don't want to have to hassle this guy. But
Joel was gnarly. Joel was he was so good. He was like, I'd say, on that generation, the whole body of work amateur wise, I think Joel probably had the best results consistently.
Yeah.
He just was always got the good waves, and when he got them, he did not blow it,
Yeah.
Like he was dropping a 6 or above.
He kind of reminds me of Micah Byrne.
Look,
for sure.
Right? Like, like not style, but like physique and like results.
Yep.
And
Yep. You never
guarantee
want
to drop, never fall, never
Yeah.
really make mistakes, super
Yeah.
fluid. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you mean. Joel, Micah, this guy's ripped.
fully.
Same kind of mold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So those were that was kind of the crew.
And
oh,
then,
Flynn Novak. That's gotta
yeah.
mention him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was gnarly.
So you competed, and then you ended up coming over to Cali and doing all the nationals and stuff. And
Yep. So we would do HASA, and then we would do NSSA, and if you did well enough, which I was fortunate enough that I did good every year and always made it, and we had nationals and U.S. champs here.
Yeah.
And back then, NSSA had the lowers permit, so that was the big one, and the U.S. was in Oceanside at North Jetty. And so you do both of those back to back, and that was the whole trip. And I never nationals was kind of my Achilles. I only made the final one time in the open. Always made the repo of the semi or something. Never cracked the nut of the final, but did well in Oceanside every time for some reason.
Yeah.
Like got a second, got a third, back in the day. But for whatever reason, dude, I think I would just spaz out in my head because lowers is such an easy, perfect like skateboard wave.
Yeah.
And then I'd just over psych and just do something dumb and fall or get triangle.
it's easy to get too excited.
Yeah, way too excited.
It's
Over froth.
over fraud. Definitely, I miss those events. So.
I know, dude. Me too.
Four guys out, or maybe probably six back then.
Yeah, it was six.
guys.
3 to the beach. Yeah.
6 was a lot.
Top 3 scores. That was looking back, that's like pretty gnarly, and it was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So your whole thing
15 up until the final, and then it was a 20
Against
Yes.
6 people.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's freaking
ridiculous.
yeah.
Totally.
15
Totally.
minutes.
Yeah.
Final was what?
20.
20.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How the hell do you get?
Beach starts at
How many waves did you have to get?
10. You got 10 max and 15 in the final, I think.
Yeah.
I know, but how many waves did you get scored on?
3.
3. Yeah.
3. Top 3.
Top 3 waves.
We would put little like bumps of wax on the top rail and knock off one if you got it. You knew you had a good one, and it was kind of a mental reminder. Weird little thing.
Hear that, Groms? Dude, a little good insight right there.
We did the Shea Lopez theory too, where we would wax the top of our feet. So when you're paddling out, you
And
rub
lowers
your
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Get the tackiness going.
Dude, Shay.
I wonder who
Shay
came
and-
up with that.
And D-Bod is where my name is. They freaking won everything.
Yeah.
They're gnarly.
Yeah.
Huh?
Shay won everything. Always finished a position or two in front of me. Same with D-Bod. Like, they were just contest machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and they ripped too. But they just calculated, never fell, finished a wave. They were like...
Those
they made
guys
it, like,
were
easy.
so hard.
So hard.
So hard to beat those guys. You just had to be on point. My problem was I would kind of go full send a lot on the end or try to do the flary move, and if it worked out, I would usually do good. And sometimes it would just implode and catch a rail, and then you're in your head, and then,
So
succeeds.
did you finally... You got... I think Quicksilver was your pretty much main sponsor for most of your...
Yes, correct.
When did that happen?
Lassen for 2 years, and then when I was 12, Donald Pahia, who was the quick team manager forever for the amateurs in Hawaii, he's from the west side, he hit me up. I had known him because I'd been going over there for contests for a while, and he gave me a shot. He said, "Hey, I want to put you on the team for Maui, and we'll send you a box, we'll send you some stickers, and what do you think?" And I was like, "Dude,
You're
yes."
like, yes.
Yeah,
Hell yes.
dude. Because that was
Yeah.
Kelly's prime time.
Yeah.
That was when he was like just starting his role, where he was just the guy.
But
in
just
the
that,
row.
but the supporting system, like they got a specific team manager for Hawaii that knows everything. Like you had to go to another mentor, but somebody to like take care of the team, and you going over to events and
Yeah. So he was our guy, and he funny because he lived in Hawaiian homelands on the west side, and I didn't know what that was back then, but nowadays like Hawaiian homelands, you got to be a certain percentage of Hawaiian to qualify to even be able to purchase property in there,
dang.
and you're on the west side of Oahu,
Yeah.
so it's like. It's moked out.
Yeah.
Like, it's super moked out.
Yeah.
So, in his compound, super nice houses and everything, like killer setup, like 10 minutes from Makaha,
yeah.
like 10 minutes to Miley. But his house, he had, gates around it and all that. Super nice, like I said. But when we would go there, we would stay, and the neighborhood there was some gnarly heads out there. And he told all the kids, because it was me, Ola Ellegram, Evan Valier, Danny Fuller. That was like the main quick amateurs back then. And he would tell all of them, like, hey, you guys want to go play with the neighborhood kids? Go for it. Hey, Shane, stay in the gates. Just...
You knew you're going to get just hassled.
Shane, I don't want you going out there, and I don't want to worry about you with all those guys.
Because you were super red hair, freckled face, super white.
Well, yeah, fully.
That would have been pretty gnarly to.
It was funny, and that's Hawaii, man. Like,
especially the west side is not part it's not like any part of the island or anywhere else.
Kind of. I mean, I don't know what he looked like back then, but he was as white as you are. But
I don't know what it is, but I swear to God, Fuller has been that height and that build since we were like 13. Like, he's been 6 foot since I met him. Like,
he had no problem.
Yeah, he was fine. Yeah, and he was the guy who, like, he could get booze because he looked older, and like he was the guy who introduced us to a lot of
partying,
late night activities.
Yeah. What are you talking about, bro? I look like I was 12 until I was 18. No, it's all good though. But
we had a rad crew.
Yeah, I bet.
Really
all those guys you mentioned that you're competing with and hanging out with. I mean, that was the best of the best of that generation.
Yeah, it was great.
And to really talk about Quicksilver, like you said, is Kelly's, Slater's prime, and you being part of that prime riding for Quicksilver, that had to have been a huge moment for you, and
it was
because Quicksilver took care of the team. Like they spent a lot of money. Like
they took care of me where Marvin and Mickey picked me up. Yeah, it was awesome.
You got to stay with Mickey.
Yeah, it was killer. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, how's
they
that
really
one?
took care of us.
They took care of the ones that knew they were going to be amounting to something.
Yeah. Did he pick you up with like the fingerless gloves and stuff? Where you're like,
hey, we got to make a couple stops.
Gloves. Yeah, we got to make a couple stops. Was that with his house at VLAN, the corner? Oh, dude, we had to stay there a couple times, and like super rad location.
I don't know if I was more scared between like the rats running through the house or like these guys.
Dude, 100%. You're like, where are they?
So what was that? When was your first picture in the mag?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I think very first printed was Wave Action.
Yes.
Remember Wave Action?
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones, McCullough's younger brother, and Malia, their dad, John Jones, was a photographer as well. And he took...
Dennis, photographer, jack of all trades.
Fully.
Because his...
Shaper now.
His name on
That's
photos is Dr. James or...
Dr. Jones.
Yeah,
Dr.
Jones.
Yeah, he's a dentist. So this was just like passion, hobby thing. Yeah. And they were like, I can't say enough good things.
Oh, dude, they opened up their house to everybody.
Yeah.
They were like,
that
there's a spot on the floor, come stay.
Totally. And even back when it was like as big as this room.
Yeah.
Like it was just like full sardine can in there, you know? And it was rad because that's where you met like the Rizals, the Batettes, like all the guys from around the world that came through the North Shore would end up at the Jones compound, and being a kid and like getting to meet all those guys was amazing. And Kalani, was dating Malia when we first started hanging out with Daniel, so he was like legit favorite surfer for me and my brother, and like like
the prodigy,
talk to him.
The prodigy,
the golden child,
Kalani Robb, the
golden
child.
Malia?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So Malia was a supermodel back then, legit supermodel.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Dude.
Oh, you do?
I remember that. I don't remember the other part.
Hard to forget that, right? But like you'd go over there and it was just this, like, it was like living in a surf movie.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you're growing up where that's all you do is eat, breathe, sleep, surf, like those were the best times ever. And me and Daniel are still close to this day. Like he was groomsman in my wedding.
So Wave Action.
Yep.
First photo, what were you doing?
Attempting to get a backside barrel and totally not in the barrel. Like just grabbing rail, like I'm dropping it on 10-footer at pipe, and it's like Aukai 2 foot, not even barreling.
It's Kind
But it
of like
looked
what
cool.
Lyndon says. Do you see that barrel? And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, the one behind you?
Way back there. Yeah.
You outran it, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Show's not about me, bro. Oh.
So that was my first shot. Yeah, it was
Nice.
a little. Wave Action always had like they would have just photo features of just like collages,
Yeah.
And it was like John would get a lot of shots in there, and
Kepler was
Yeah.
the man.
Yeah.
Did
Kepler
did
special.
you guys have a surf shop that you guys like kind of hung at?
So Locomotion
Yeah.
was the OG, the first one.
Okay.
And then when I started riding for Quicksilver, they started doing the board riders clubs. And board riders set up on Front Street in Maui. And that was right down the street from our house.
Cool.
So Puamana is at the end of Front Street, and the board riders was like a bike ride down the street.
Yeah.
So we would go into board riders and hang out a lot because it was right there.
Grab wax, hang out, check the chicks, see
Yeah,
what's cool. Like
Totally.
Yeah. To hang out.
Some of the managers were a little older than me, but they could drive, and they would take us surfing.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have cars, and back then, like, hitchhiking was totally cool.
Yeah.
Still
Dude,
kind of is on Maui.
Back of the truck, no seatbelt, nothing. Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah.
You're looking for the truck because those guys will pick you up. Not too many people will pick you up without a truck.
The convertible Camaro and the Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah. You're like, no, you guys keep going. But yeah, we would hang board riders. The funny thing about that, the little twist on that was I didn't ride for board riders. I rode for Quick, but I rode for High Tech because of Kinoshita and then Kim,
Yeah.
So that was my sponsor, but they were 30 minutes away. So we didn't really hang there unless
Yeah.
we were on that side. But I hung at board riders.
Dude, I mean, we had the same. We had 20 surf shops down in Huntington, you
Yeah.
know. But you were sponsored by one. But you went and hung out, like, and
Yep.
visited them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just that culture, and again, when you're in school and you're in 6th, 8th grade, that's your zone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you hang out the shops, and all of a sudden you got the 16-year-olds that drive, you got the 21-year-olds that buy beer, and then all of a sudden that mix becomes.
Isn't it sad
100%.
that you don't see that happening anymore? Like, you don't have a place for these groms to watch videos
Yes.
Yeah.
or look at magazines.
Yeah.
Because that was, working at HSS, we had so many
Yeah.
little rugrats that we pretty much babysitted for free.
All the hot chicks work there.
Yep.
There's always killer surf movies playing.
Yeah.
You go
Find
get
out about
whacked.
a party or
Yeah.
something. The old
Yeah.
guys might take you.
Yeah.
I'd say the shops are arguably the heartbeat of our culture because
Yeah.
that's where we all start. Like
Yeah.
it's where you get your surf. I got my first surf video at Locomotion, and it was Momentum 2.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Momentum 2, and it was just like, yeah,
I want to do that.
what?
I want to be that guy.
Part in that, did he?
I want to do that. I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the one we had that Jay had a lot that we watched a lot was Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had a good part in that. I remember seeing it. I was like, "Who's this?"
That was a Quicksilver movie,
Way
right?
back.
Cheap Thrills. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
yep.
That was funny. Like, so I was at Quicksilver pretty much my entire amateur career, except for a couple sponsors at like 10 to 12. But
Yep.
they took care of us, and they were. I mean, I was fortunate to live right here by the headquarters, but they were just
Awesome.
awesome. From taking us to the events, to doing training workouts at 54th, to connecting us with, hey, you're going to go here, you can stay,
Yeah.
we're going to hook you up. I went to Australia for our surf team. We didn't compete and traveled, and I went over there and I got to do a tour of the Quicksilver offices. They gave me a box of clothes when I showed up, and I was like, oh, this is like Quicksilver Australia stuff.
Yeah.
It was totally
It's a little different. Yeah.
But just great group of dudes.
Dude, the whole network, they really,
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of partially invented, how the whole pro surfing
And
mold.
we had Bob McKnight and the whole, taking care of the generations and making sure that you had the shop kid, then you had the local hero kid, and then you had the semi-pro guy that was probably the best in the state or the West Coast or Hawaii or whatever, and then you had the marquee guys. They made sure they hit every one of those elements.
100%.
Yeah.
Super smart.
And we've kind of lost that of recent because of the way marketing and the way, just budgets have been and stuff, and no
social
events,
media.
social media.
It's just allowed you to be your own brand. So, there's a cool side to that, and then there's You know, that whole...
The peachy
Party's
folders.
lost.
Quicksilver had these like peachy folders.
Yeah.
Like talking about school days, and everybody had the, you know, the academic one that had all the, you know, football and, you know, that. Peachy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then... I had
Cat.
these Quicksilver ones, and they were like, you know, just that simple stuff. People would be like, "Oh, you got the Quicksilver like peachy folder." I'm like,
that was the difference.
"Yeah, I do."
yeah. But you don't?
But you know, just the things that
The
run through your
show's
mind.
not about Jay.
No, we're talking about Quicksilver.
No,
like, you
so I
know.
was telling him Cheap Thrills was one of our main ones we watched,
Yeah.
dude, because he was in it. He had a good section. Braden had a nut section. That was, I think, when Briley was still on the squad,
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
a legend.
They have it like
Quicksilver
it's
put out a lot of freaking good videos.
They did.
Man, 110, 240.
That was sick.
Remember that?
240 was rad. Yeah.
Of course, black and white.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow.
Cheap and Deep was freaking sick.
Cheap
and
and
Deep
Deep.
was sick.
Sons of Fortune was,
That was my-
freaking sick.
that was my
Yeah.
first like real
Sons of
segment.
Fortune?
No, cheap and deep. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Cheap
Maybe it
and
was,
Deep.
yeah.
It wasn't Cheap Thrills.
It wasn't Cheap
It's
Thrills.
Cheap and Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. My
No,
mistake.
it's all good.
Yeah, we had that one. That was the one. Cheap and Deep. And that was Brado and Briley.
Yeah.
And yeah. Totally, dude.
So, okay, now we're talking about videos. What was do you remember your first video
Oh, man.
appearance?
It might have been one of the quick ones, Circle One, that they did. Kind of when Fred was kind of like their marquee guy.
Tasha?
Yeah,
Tasha?
and we did like a trip down to West Oz, and I had
Was
a
that,
little
what was
segment.
that? What was
in
your first trip?
Oh, Cabo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Outside
yeah.
of Hawaii and California, Cabo
Yes.
was your first trip.
Cabo with Reef.
Wow.
And
cool.
that was my first real photo in like one of the main mags too. And it was in surfing, it was at shipwrecks, and it was a frontside air. And it was like
Wow.
a grab. And I remember it was a good shot, and this was almost a bigger deal in double page spread. I ended up on the bag at ASR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was that photo. And I was like,
Were you riding for Quick too still, or?
I was riding for Quick.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And then you started riding for Reef.
Reef was the shoe sponsor.
Okay.
So Quick and then Reef. This was way before Reef apparel or any of that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they weren't even doing like closed toe. It was like slippers and
Yeah.
you remember the like convertible one that's like the
Yeah.
Birkenstock kind of
Yeah.
deal, or like it straps.
Yeah.
You know? So they took a whole squad of us after nationals down to Cabo, and I was freaking out. Like, got a South Swell. Shipwrecks was on fire. That's
You
where
got lucky because
I know.
Cabo's pretty finicky.
Totally, and we even got 9 palms, and I know that's kind of a mushy wave nowadays.
When
but
it
when
gets good though.
dude, we were
Yeah.
15 years old, so just a pellet, and like it was the longest wave I'd ever surfed.
Yeah.
And it was like I was freaking out, dude. I was just so psyched. It was me, Freddie P, Dylan Slater, Eric Taylor, Jeff Brack. I don't know if you
Yeah, I
guys
remember
remember
Jeff
Brack. Brack was so gnarly. And Daniel Jones and Joel Centeno. So it was like this whole squad, and we absolutely scored.
Yeah.
Like waves every day, Mexican food. Jeremy Sokol was the team manager back then. And I remember the last night we went out to downtown Cabo, and like he bought us all like drinks and everything. And it was one of those. It was fun.
Squid Row.
Squid
Giggling
Row.
Marlin.
Yeah. Ended up having a lot of good times at Squid Row later in the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cabo can be a freaking fun place because you got killer point breaks, but you have to have swell.
Yeah.
And you have, like you said, amazing food and nightlife.
It was epic, dude. But yeah, we scored. East Cape all time.
That was your first abroad trip.
First abroad
Crazy.
trip.
So how long did you, what was your best or your most proud, like, amateur achievement?
Oh man, yeah, that would definitely be the winning the Open Men's Regionals in NSSA.
Where was that held?
Turtle Bay. So I have a
East or west?
what the proper Turtle Bay, the worst one,
The
not
worst wave.
Disco's.
Yeah. Oh.
But it's funny. I had a good
Turtle Bay
relationship
Hilton?
with that wave.
At the pool side, the west side.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it can be fun,
Dude.
but it's really challenging to really.
I've gotten 3 10s out there.
Never mind. I mean, it's
I had-
really challenging for cooks like me. But this guy is easy.
I had a really weird relationship with that wave.
Yeah.
Everyone hated it,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, I could figure it out. And
RedTide.
I would find these barrels. Like if you read it right, there's certain ones that kind of whitewater,
Yeah.
and then double up real close and hug the cliff. And if you can get those ones, like
Yeah.
you can get fully kegged, and then you can come out and do like.
Would you line up with the blowhole?
Kind of right by the blowhole, like close to the blowhole, you know, the porpoise hole.
Yeah.
So that was open U.S.
That was NSSA. It's the states, but they call them regionals, you know. And it was open men, and it was my first year in open men, and that was a big deal because in the final it was me, Freddie P, Roy Powers, Centeo, Fuller, and Barca. Yeah,
Stacked heat.
stacked.
I just saw an event there like last spring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, it was. I think it was like East. Not 2020. It might have been 19 because of obviously COVID. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, I was tripping. I'm like, you guys are. It was a 1 day event, and it was like a regional, like
Yep.
something.
So
Saw
they-
Doug Silva coaching some guys, and yeah, it was funny.
They had regionals there for probably the last like 4 years of my amateur career.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. One time it lined up when the Hawaiian Tropic competition was going on,
yeah.
or like bikini thing. So we're like picking up jerseys and stuff,
Yeah.
and there's just these Hawaiian Tropic chicks doing like photo shoots all around and in the pool, and like we were all like 15, 16 at the time, just losing it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
awesome.
surfed a Bud Tour PSA on the east side,
Yeah.
outside the cove, whatever you said, discos.
Discos.
Yeah, discos.
Dude,
yeah.
you surfed that event.
Yeah.
Was it good? It was good, right?
It was good.
That
it was
wave's
weird.
sick.
It was
So
crazy.
is that on the other side?
The right side. So if you're coming in
Okay.
the east side, the right
The
side.
waves get good over there?
No, it's rare. Same thing. It's got to be north. It's a funky direction, but it's manageable. And it was a mobile event on
Yep.
the North Shore. I was Grom.
Yeah.
And, I'm like making heats, and he gets seated with, the guys. And, second round main event is like, the top of the guys. I get seated with, or I come into a heat with me and whoever I made it with, and then Sonny.
The show is not
and somebody-
about.
But no.
Trade war stories,
So I'm a Grom in Hawaii, and I'm at the spot. I didn't even know bro, because it was mobile, and I get into a heats with Sonny. And
Yeah.
I was like, the most intimidating guy
Fully.
you could ever imagine, and I already knew him.
Did you bust out your toy though?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I just sat next to him. Just let me know which one you're not going to go on, and I'm going to go.
Dude,
I
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me know which one you're not, because he would sit all by himself. All three of us would be
Yeah.
10 yards in.
Oh, you wouldn't even. No one would paddle by Sunday.
No, it was intense.
Yeah, he got whatever way he wanted.
Yeah.
I got a good one for XL Pro. So QS, this was after amateurs, 4-man heats now, and made a couple rounds, and it was me, Sonny, Kaipo, Derek Ho. I just sat on
Kaipo
the inside
Wakias?
bowl and watched those guys surf.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't getting a fucking wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaipo Wakias.
Kaipo Wakias. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you have 3
And
Hawaiian.
this.
Yeah.
And this.
Legends. I'm going to sit on the inside,
Dude,
and hopefully you
I was
guys all
just-
fall.
Yeah, I was just laughing, dude. I'm like, I didn't even paddle up to, main peak with him. Like, I literally just sat on the inside bowl. I was like, what am I going to do? Dude?
Yeah.
Like,
God.
for real.
Crazy.
Like, I'm not going to paddle and battle Sonny.
No.
I'm not going to do that to Kaipo.
Yeah.
No.
And that's Derek Ho.
Yeah.
Like,
You're just.
I'll take a 0.
yeah,
please.
yeah.
And the other heats, you're looking at you like, you mofos, man. Like,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
But you didn't have a choice, it's just
No.
the way the system
So
worked.
that final with the stacked heat,
Yep.
did you get 10s in that one?
I did not get a 10 in the final. I do remember that. But I just kind of was on a roll, and you're just like the good. And that was one of those waves where like someone would get the good ones. And if you got the good ones, you had a really good shot of winning because
Yeah.
it's just all over the place. And what worked out to my advantage on that one was all those guys really pushed each other way deep. And I didn't play that game with them. I stayed a little wider. And I think that made the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I came in, I thought I did pretty good. Like, I felt good.
Yeah.
And Matt, my coach, Kinoshita, was there, and he's like, hey, you know, I think you have a shot. And I'm like, well, right on. And
It's just
did
crazy.
the whole-
Hawaii.
So was he pretty much your coach throughout your amateur career?
Yes.
Rad.
And like all my competitive skills, pretty much fundamentals of surfing, you know, power surfing, whatever you want to call it, all Matt Kinoshita.
Yeah.
But what-
Did he videotape you a lot too? And
He started shooting photos later, and he did pretty good with that. But we didn't. It wasn't as much of a thing back then to have your own filmer guy. You know, like most of the video was mom when we did get video. You know, and then later in the career, you know, working with Quicksilver, those filmer guys would come. Like, I mean, dude, I wish we had filmers for the whole time we were growing up, like the kids do on Maui now. Because I mean, like all the clips you see of Honolulu Bay and all that. I mean, dude, I could tell you stories. Like, we got a lot of that.
The North Shore is 15 foot, and there's not really anywhere to surf except, you know, a couple spots. We hop on a plane and go surf the bay.
And that's the one day that everyone comes over.
Yeah.
And everyone comes over, and everyone gets eggy because everyone's there, and I'm never coming back here. But there's all these other days that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And it's like less than half that.
For sure.
And probably better.
Yeah. But it's such a good way.
Oh my God, dude. Honolulu.
so when did you turn pro? Like how
I mean,
how old were you?
I guess technically, I started getting paid at 15. And it wasn't like a bunch, but I started getting monthly checks. And
As an amateur.
As an amateur, I guess. And that was kind of across the board, though, dude. Like,
you could, at that time, you could take money as an amateur and still compete as long as you're in school for the, you know, the contest.
Correct.
You couldn't even take
You
the
didn't
money.
get paid, right? When you were amateur, were you?
No, you couldn't get paid, but you had travel budgets and incentives and stuff. But it was used for travel and expenses, and then
You were getting a salary.
Some dough, yeah. Not a lot, but you know, we were getting paid. It was awesome.
Do you remember how much?
Yeah, I think it was like $300 a month from Shoe, and then like $500 a month from Quick or something. It wasn't a ton, but for high school, dude, I was psyched.
Dude, at 15 years old?
Yeah, man. Like, I bought an Explorer and lifted it. Like, I was all psyched.
Hey, what are you gonna do with your money? I'm gonna buy the sick race car.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a kegger.
Dude.
What?
I put a sub in the back. Like, dude, I was fully moked out.
Subwoofer?
Yeah, full subwoofer. Like, got the sounds going. Like, dude, I was full white moke guy, dude. Like, or wanting to be. And the funniest thing is I lifted the Explorer, and it wasn't even four-wheel drive. It was just all show, no go. Just big 2x. Like, it was hilarious, dude. But
that was the vibe.
That was the vibe.
You had status if you had a raised SUV or truck or something.
Oh, 100%.
And the
dude.
beats.
What were you listening to back then?
I listened to like rap and stuff. I was into Tupac. I was into, you know, Biggie, DMX.
Yeah.
I was all hyped on DMX for a while. But then I was also
What?
punk. Yeah. What you really want? Yeah, that one. But I like punk too. So I kind of flopped from there to punk. NoFX, Pennywise, Offspring. You know,
Because that's in all the movies. You know, that's all the surf.
Yes.
Movie.
And that was the time when, like, you know, Napster, so you could download music. That was a big
Illegal?
deal.
Yeah.
Illegally. Yeah, and then you burn CDs, right?
Yeah.
And so we had all these burned surf mixes.
Oh, I go to Bali and I would have I'd buy 50 CDs of every album, and half
for
of them,
$5.
half of them wouldn't work, you know, and then half of them would work. And you download it. I'm like, I still have half my music is from
It is.
pirated music. Sorry,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry,
Sorry about it.
sorry, guys.
So when did you turn pro?
I mean, I guess I'd be 18.
Okay.
You know, and it was interesting because
How did you turn pro? Like,
Finish high school,
finish high school, and then it was like, hey, what
tackle the QS.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought was going to happen,
Yeah.
right? And at Quick at the time, coming up during amateurs, it was Todd Miller,
Yep.
I think. And Miller was rad, and he was hyping me up to go do the QS, and I was into it. Like, I was a competitor. That was my thing, you know? And then by the time 18 rolled around, that was right when they switched from Miller to Kleine. And Kleine's awesome and everything, but he kind of had a different idea, or maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was Boothie. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
But they basically said, hey, we're not going to put you on the QS. We kind of want to just like send you on crossing trips and have you be a free surfer and whatnot. And that was kind of interesting.
Who at that time, who was their QS guys then?
Fred,
Bourgeois and Fred and
yeah, God, how good is
Timmy Curran, and he's a little
Timmy
older.
Curran.
Yeah.
Even I think Reyes might have still been on the program.
Reyes,
back then.
yeah.
Timmy?
Yeah, he was quick
He
for a
was
while.
on quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a solid crew of guys, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the Aussies, Luke Monroe and Ono Masatoshi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they had like a pretty strong crew. And, you know, they told me they wanted me to do the free surf thing. And I was kind of like ho and hum about it. Like, man, I really want to do the QS. And then I was like getting pressure from my grandparents to go to college, you know. And so I moved out here with the intention of going to and this is going to get really funny in a second, with the intention of going to community college, Miracosta, down in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I moved out here and lived at my dad's house. And my best friend actually came along too, and he lived at my dad's house with me. And we went to community college. We went for the first day of class. I went to a business law class, and I was sitting in the classroom thinking, this is just like high school. This sucks.
Yeah.
Not into it, you know, but I kind of got to do it. And back then, that was cell phones already, you know, I had the Nokia. And got a call in the middle of class, walked out, took it. It was Kleine saying he wanted to send me on a trip to Natividad.
Yeah. Quick
And
strike.
that was with you.
Yes.
Oh wait, you went?
Yeah.
You went on a trip with this guy?
Yeah. I've been there quite a few times, so there's a few blurs.
You were still writing for them?
I don't
You
know.
were
Maybe
riding for
Ezekiel.
Quick
I
back
don't even
then.
know.
Ezekiel. You were Ezekiel then. Yeah. Troyer was the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Troyer.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, a lot of sketchy
What?
plane rides
A
there.
trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was me, you, and Chase Stang.
That's right.
Yeah. And we kind of scored. I mean, you've been there a bunch.
Yeah,
but-
it wasn't pumping, but it was clean. It was good.
Yeah.
Not too strong a winds.
Wow.
No. Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
that was
yeah.
Nativi.
Worlds collided.
Dude.
Yep.
I talk about that place all the time. And
Pass
I'm
with
like,
cross.
you know, it's a
What
very
did I say?
specific spot, but it's just, I mean, it could be the super bank, or it just could be wedges, or it could be, you know, it's just phenomenal.
It was rad.
It's rad.
Rad. We
Yeah.
went and
But
ate like the
you're
lobster house.
you're camping on the beach
Yeah.
in a shack, and yeah, you go into town to eat lobster.
At like a
House.
like a person's house. It's like we are right now, like at a family dinner table. It's
That's the
super
restaurant?
cool.
But
yeah.
if you've ever been on a 6-seater plane, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
like tiny. It's like a Volkswagen Bug with wings.
Yeah.
Like it's hollow plastic. We're stuffing it with like, you can only bring 2 boards and like your wetsuits and like whatever you can put in a backpack that's sitting at your feet.
Where do you take off from?
Usually Oceanside or San Diego.
Yeah, we did San
All the
Diego.
way
yeah.
to
But,
Natividad?
but
Yeah.
your boards go in the tail of the plane, and then there's seats, and the pilot's got to go check and move stuff around because of the gears, the flaps. It's cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
You
not
gotta
like,
make sure that it doesn't
So-
touch the cables.
Yeah, so he's like, all right, we got to move stuff, and then he's weighing stuff. He's like, okay, we got to dump some weight.
Yeah.
Like we're too heavy, and then no joke, you fill it up and you're stripping. Okay, we don't need that. What's in there? And it's usually the camera gear.
Dude, it's
fucking-
sketchy.
Yeah,
Fully.
and then you're coming in at like, because the way the island sits, you would normally put the runway where the trades go, but the only flat spot it's side wind. So you're coming in like this.
With one tip
Yeah.
down.
And he's got to slam it, and then you're doing this. It's
Wow.
the freaking craziest experience.
And it's not asphalt. It's
No.
just dirt.
Yeah.
Like you're just landing on dirt.
It's
in a plane?
it's
All
funny
good.
we never died.
Totally, dude. Totally.
So that was your first trip.
After, yeah, like,
You're in college.
You turned pro.
yeah, got the call, left, told my buddy, I'm all, hey, I'm not going to go back. Like, I'm going to go on this trip and...
Not go to school anymore.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to just go this route. I'm going to do the free surf thing for quick.
Yeah.
And then that was, that lasted for 2-3 years, and in that little time period was when I got the opportunity to play Jim Muir in Lords of Dogtown in the movie.
This is where the acting career comes into play.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
You played Jim Muir?
Red Dog.
Yeah, Red Dog right
Yeah.
here. I have it.
Yeah.
Jim Red Dog Muir.
Yeah.
I gotta watch the movie again.
Yeah.
I don't have like a ton of lines or anything.
Grom, fro,
but-
big fro.
Oh, huge fro.
Huge fro.
Huge fro. Yeah.
Which Dogtown? Lords of Dogtown?
Yeah,
Lords.
the like cinematic movie,
Yeah.
not the documentary, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, give it a
I
watch.
love
dude.
that movie. Honestly.
Yeah.
Did you like that movie?
Yeah.
Dude,
I thought that movie was fucking
Nuge.
insane.
Dude, Nuge was that's who I stayed with a bunch. He was rad, man. That was when he was doing the like Hellrose thing.
Yeah.
So I stayed
Yeah.
in their little like dirty apartment with
So
him
wait.
a bunch. It was fun.
Okay. Backtrack. How that happened? Like,
So that kind of happened but he approached my dad at ASR one year, and I wasn't there this year, and he was like, "Hey, I heard
Needed
your
ginger.
son, yeah, and I heard your son skates," and he's like, "Yeah," and he surfs, and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Will you have him come out and like try to audition for my little small part in this movie?" And yeah, he called me up. He's like, "Come out and do it." And at the time, I was just traveling by this time, I had moved back to Maui, and I was just living on Maui, traveling from Maui for quick. And so I flew out. We went up to Sony Studios, and I had to do this whole audition where you read lines, and and it ended up being with the director and the stunt coordinator. And the reason they wanted guys like me is our kind of supporting Z-Boy role, was secondary to obviously Tony Alva, Stacy Peralta, and Jay. But they wanted to have someone who could read lines if they needed to, but also do all the stunts and skate. Because if they had to hire an actor to do all those and then hire a stunt
Just
guy,
way too.
it blows the budget up. So we kind of got hired. So I had to do a reading audition with the director, and then I had to go do a skating audition with the stunt coordinator at Skate Lab in Simi Valley.
Did he know?
Todd.
Did he know skate?
was it Todd?
It wasn't
From Skate
Todd.
Lab? Skate
No.
Lab?
No. Oh, I might have met him. Was that the owner?
Yeah.
I think we met him.
Okay.
But he has really good old skateboard
Sick,
collection there.
It's too bad it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Skate Lab gone?
Yeah.
Oh, R.I.P.
A while ago.
That
a couple years
sucks.
ago now, right?
Oh, bummer, dude.
Yeah.
No, the stunt coordinator was this guy, Tom Harper.
Okay.
And he's like an absolute legend in that community. Like, he does all the Marvel movies and all that stuff. And now his sons, Riley and Reed, have kind of taken the mantle up. And that's who I was working with in Atlanta. And those guys are epic. Can't say enough good things about them. So got hired and left, thinking, I don't know what's going to happen. And
What a trip.
yeah, I got the call up like a couple days later, like, hey, you got the part. Like, yeah, you're gonna be in a movie, and I was freaking out.
Yeah.
And you didn't even
Freaking out.
You're like, I'm a pro surfer. Like, that's fucking awesome. And then, bam, you're a fucking actor.
It just, yeah, it kind of happened overnight. And I knew it wasn't like a heavy, like, you're going to be needing to read, all these lines and memorize it. It was going to be like one here and there. It was more like, hey, we need you skating, in the background, or, you need to hit your mark, skate from here to here, bomb the hill or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you know what kind of money you were going to make in?
No idea.
No idea. Didn't care.
Didn't even care.
You're just
Yeah.
like, this is just a huge opportunity.
Yeah, they like, most people have like agents and
Yeah.
stuff. And like, I remember my first day on, like, you have to sign your contract before you work. And they give me this like stack this big. I'm like, just
Where do
signing-
I sign?
Just signing papers. I'm not even
Did you get a
reading it.
SAG card from that?
That's what got me my SAG card.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. So that's how I was able to, continue pursuing work in that industry later on. I
Yeah.
kind of left after the movie to just go straight back into pro surfing.
Did
Yeah.
you know that movie was going to be pretty, like, impactful on... Because, I mean, that movie, we always talk about, like, movies that kind of make a cultural shift or phenomenon.
Yeah.
That movie put, in my mind, Vans back on the feet of,
I agree. The
For
funny
sure.
thing is, they didn't
created
back
the
it.
trend again.
But it also, because Dogtown was more authentic and core and not so mainstream or whatever, but it gave, like you
Not
said, it
big
changed
budget.
the culture and
Yeah.
everything, and that just really highlighted that whole transition of
I feel like it led into a little bit of the hipster kind of deal, you know, with going back to the old low top Vans and kind of getting more into the styly skating from the 70s and all that, and the bowls and whatnot.
Yeah, you don't have to do, you know, big vert or be a super tech guy. You could just kind of be more of a raw, like natural.
Totally.
Like,
and it was rad, dude. Jim shaped all our boards. Like he made them. Like he was the owner of Dogtown after the brand, you know, and he was the guy who would kind of like started hand shaping all these old boards. So all our like training boards and then our movie boards, the show boards or whatever, he shaped all of them, and they were tiny, and we had real Chicago trucks just like back in the day, Cadillac wheels, the whole deal.
Dang.
And they were fucking sick. Like at first it was kind of like, dude, these things are really narrow and really responsive.
So your dad had to have been tripping.
Yeah, we actually.
What about?
You're living my life, bro.
What about Strider? How'd you edge out Strider for this gig?
That's a good call.
You know, like he was too old.
Probably too old.
He was a little bit past the prime already on that one, dude.
Love you, Strawberry.
We love you, Raspberry Berwin. He was super stoked, and at the time he was working for Quick doing marketing and stuff, and obviously still killing it. You know,
still getting the shot.
Yeah, fully. And so he was all pumped, and I was stoked on that, and they were supportive of me doing it, you know, and because it was like a 4-month deal, and it's
what year was that when that came out?
Let's see, I was 20, so that was like 2002, 2003, something like that.
We're dating.
I gotta watch that movie again. I gotta watch that movie again.
Yeah.
It was, you'll see. I got one pretty good line in there. You'll like it.
What do you say?
But I'm gonna make out with 2 chicks tonight. That was a good one. What? Yeah, that was.
That's kind of legendary.
And it wasn't written in. They were like, "Hey, say something." I'm like, "All right."
You came up with that on your own improv?
Full improv.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pumped.
Wow.
Surfer movies. So I'm pretty much gonna take. Yeah.
I'm gonna make out with 2 girls tonight.
It was a trip, man. It was surreal. I was really nervous at first, and it took a little while to get comfortable going to set because, like, dude, I'm from Maui, you know, like I watch movies. I don't know how these things are made, and like.
People there.
Heath Ledger's in it, you know? Heath Ledger's Skip Ingram, and like I was scared to talk to him.
I forget that too.
Yeah, dude, and he was the coolest guy ever. Like,
I was so bummed. RIP. That guy was such a freaking cool dude.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, like his roles and actors and stuff, but like.
And he was
crazy.
like a normal dude. Like I didn't have to go introduce myself. I was like literally scared to talk to him. But then he came up to me one day on set. He's like, "Hey Shane, I watched some of your surf videos, like the Osiris video, and like, hey man, right on, I'm from Perth, you know." And like, I was just like, "Oh my god, you know my name." Like, cool. And then we ended up broing out and everything, and like fun fact for the cannabis guy in the room here, that was the first time I ever saw medical weed. He would get it delivered to set in a briefcase by a doctor. He'd open it up, and it'd have all these little labels on it, like blackjack and something else. You know, all the names. That was the first time I ever saw that shit.
That's high roller. That's high roller right there.
That's business model.
Yeah. Hey, this is professional. I'm a professional. It's coming in a briefcase, so it's legit.
Fully. Yeah, and like we wrapped one day, and he was like smoking a joint. I didn't really start smoking weed, and sorry if this is a family-friendly show, but like,
it's all good.
You know, it's legal here, recreational.
Hey, we're sponsored by a weed company.
Yeah, there we go.
CBD. all spectrum. Full spectrum.
Full spectrum.
Who is it? Iconic Life.
Yes.
Boom.
So I kind of, that was like kind of the beginning of when I kind of started doing that just on the side, you know. I was real serious about competing.
If this legendary actor, like, is this professional, whatever, it can't be that bad.
Yeah. So he's passing one around, and this is medical stuff, and I'm like super lightweight, and I take a big old rip and like cough for freaking 2 minutes, you know, and all right guys, see you later. I get in my car and start driving, and I'm in LA, and I was staying at Jim's house, and I don't have Nav back then. I have MapQuest. It's like printed out, and I got so high and paranoid, I pulled over in a neighborhood and just laid in the backseat. And like,
that's what I would have done.
This guy for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not tripping out. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm not fine. I'm not fine.
That is exactly how it went down. And I'm just in the back seat, like, dude, when's this shit gonna wear off? Like, holy crap, I'm never doing that again.
2 hours, man.
Holy crap, but this is awesome.
Somebody call me a doctor.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Life's so awesome, but if you could slow it down to that kind of perception, you'd be like, a day is a week. You know?
dude.
Like, I mean, you would...
Yeah. It felt like forever.
Yeah, it's kind of
Felt like
cool.
forever. Yeah.
Time goes too
It was
quick,
a
you know,
trip,
until
man.
You're on a 4-hour tour.
4 hour, like
4 hours, 6 hours maybe.
Yeah. It's
Right,
like
depending
you
on how
versus
strong
yourself.
the
3-hour tour.
Yeah.
Are you 4 or 6?
So you did that, which is freaking awesome.
Did that parlay into other stuff?
So it should have, if I was smart, I probably wouldn't have gone back to surfing and just kept doing that.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
You could have been Noah Johnson and been on all these, like, you know, stunt shows and gunmen and like whatever, you know.
100%.
Is that what you went on?
Dude, that's what he does.
Yeah, yeah, and he works with the Harpers all the time.
Yeah.
like those. It's a very kind of tight knit community. The stunt stuff.
Yeah.
Not sidebar, but the other, when you went to Atlanta, where's
Atlanta. Yeah.
Jeff Barnett.
Yeah, so Jeffy is like a really good friend now, and I didn't meet him till later on after, you know, Body Glove and stuff when I
His
started trying to
dad-
get back into it. Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the man. He was the guy who did Baywatch, the OG. He was the stunt coordinator for that.
Yeah.
So for Kelly, you know, Jimmy Slade.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
So, yeah. So now Greg still coordinates. Like, I work for Greg sometimes too, and Jeffy does a ton of shows like Euphoria on HBO, things like that. So I work with Jeff a lot. Like, he's probably the main guy.
Are we too old to get in stunt?
You guys,
You can't even like kick out of a way without getting hurt. How are you going to be a stuntman?
I don't have to kick out there. Give me the easy stuff.
yeah, it's honestly like such fun work, you know. Like it's gnarly though. Like, it's a whole like. There's no like read this and this is how you show up on set. This is how to read a call sheet. Like, it's kind of like learn on the job and. You get, you know.
Well, it's a stunt, right? Like,
yeah, and they don't.
We want
always
you to
tell
do this.
They're like, hey,
It's
are
always-
you available this day?
Yeah.
And you're like, yes. That's what you have to say. You don't ever say no. You go yes, and you don't ask why. And then you show up, and sometimes they're like, yeah. So, you know, you're going off that into that, and you're like, okay. You know, or we need you. You know, if it's a big one, like if you're getting lit on fire, like. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just like, hey, like, can you come work? They just refer to it as work.
But just what an experience to see, like, the behind the scenes of everything that goes into, like, what a day goes into a movie. You know, like, you might be on.
Yeah.
They might film for 4 months, but like, hey, we need you for like 4 days, and like you said, you got to show up these 4 days.
Yeah.
and you have 1 minute.
You're one piece of the
in whole
puzzle.
thing.
Oh,
but,
totally.
Yeah. The amount of stress that.
Yeah,
puts on
you'll
you.
shoot, you'll rehearse, and then you'll shoot your gag or whatever, and you're like, wow, that I can't wait to see it. And then when you see it on TV, it's like that, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I was there for 4 days.
4 seconds? That's it?
Yeah. 4 seconds is like, that's a long one, dude. You're like really killing it.
So, yeah, what else? After that, like.
Well, let's talk back.
Sorry.
So you did that,
Backtrack, Lyndon.
and you went back to surfing.
Went back to surfing. So wrapped up with Dogtown. I mean, super rad experience. Tons of cool shit happened. And then went back to Maui and straight back to surfing. And by that time, Chad Wells had kind of come into the picture. Wellsy. And I was really stoked on Wellsy, man.
Yes.
He was such a cool guy. And he looked at me and was just like, hey, I want to put you on the QS.
Really?
Yeah.
He flipped the script.
Flip the script.
Wanted what you wanted.
Yes.
Sick.
And I was like 22, 23 at the
Prime
time.
time.
Still.
It was, but I think, you know, after the years of traveling and then doing the movie thing and, you know. Like,
Didn't have that edge.
Didn't have the edge.
Competitive.
You missed the window of the fire.
Yes, the edge was a little dull, you know. And I also had, like, seen some pretty cool stuff on free surf trips, and
You got
experienced-
spoiled before you had to go grind it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Got really good waves. Did
You're
mental
like, wait, I'm
wide
gonna fly halfway around the world for a 2-foot slop, and I was just on a boat,
100%.
Indies,
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere with
And get
nobody
paid
out.
the same?
Yeah. Oh, fully. It's there's no change there, and it's like pretty grueling. I mean, it's grindy.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're traveling with, but you might be sleeping in a board bag that night. You might be in your car. 5 guys in a hotel room in Brazil. It is what it is. But I was excited at the opportunity and went for it for 2 years. I think the second year cracked the top 100. And then
In QS.
in the QS,
Yeah.
yeah. So never came close to making the tour,
Yeah.
but
Because it's top 44 to make it to the big show.
Yeah.
WCT.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never. Well, you had to be 16.
16
Top 16?
of
Yeah.
the QS gets rotated into the top 44. So 32
Oh, yeah.
stay,
Yeah.
16 rotate.
And the system was pretty, honestly, stacked to let the guys who qualified remain qualified.
Yeah.
I got no bones about saying that, because it's
Nope.
like those guys could come and enter a 6-star QS being on the CT and start at the highest seed, the highest round.
They're already getting
Yeah.
If they just enter, they're getting qualifying points where they're only really have to make a heat or two.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
right.
it's crazy.
Right. And I never agreed with that.
No.
Like, that was pretty maddening for, when you're grinding it
Yeah.
out, and you're kind of sitting there like, dude, why wouldn't you guys just compete? And if you fall off, you fall in the back 16, the top 44, the next year you can have the high seed on the QS.
Yeah.
But if some of those guys who were in danger of falling off, they would just start entering 6-stars.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
would just start at the highest round. And just to put that in perspective, like, if you're starting at the lowest round, you're probably surfing 5-6 heats to get to where they start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
very
So
lopsided.
you did that for 2 years.
Did it for 2 years.
Any good results or?
Not really. Quarters here and there. I think I made quarters at US Open one year. Not really.
Better than I did.
Yeah.
And those 2 years were on Quicksilver.
On quick.
Okay.
On quick. I can't. Yeah, nothing really memorable, dude. I never had that much success on the QS.
Yeah.
Like, I would always make a few rounds.
But you got
kind of blew it.
during your career professionally, because Quicksilver put you on these trips and you're more that like travel photo lifestyle guy, you got a lot of coverage.
Got a lot of coverage.
You got a lot of coverage.
You got like a lot of photos.
Yeah.
In the mags.
That was kind of my niche. Like,
Yeah.
I ended up being pretty good with the water guys and with airs.
Yeah.
Was
That's
always
what I was
doing
gonna
airs.
say is
And that's
you're
where
more known for airs than
definitely. And competitively back then, around that same time, and even a little earlier than the QS, when I was doing the free surf thing, the Vans air shows were going on. And I did have a lot of success in those. Got like a second in Costa Rica. Gorkin beat me. Man, if I
Gorkin
he was the guy.
He was
you know?
guy. Yeah.
And we had a guy on Maui, and I gotta mention this guy, because this is why a lot of the kids on Maui do airs. Like, I mean, even the Miolas and the Albies,
Yeah.
I think those guys were younger when I was growing up and doing airs, but the guy that started doing airs that I looked up to was Randy Goose Welch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember
Yeah,
Goose.
man.
I
Yeah.
kind of remember that name.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, Goose was the man. He had this, we called it the Goose Springs, and like he
Yeah.
could just do an air anytime on any lift.
Was this the
on
guy
any
you were talking
wave.
about earlier? No,
No.
you were talking Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. That was a guy my age.
Yeah.
That me and Ryan looked up to Goose, and,
Yeah.
and Goose was, dude, he was insane. He
Yeah.
won the World Air Championships.
Was there money in that Vans? Were
There
you,
kind of like, I think first back then was like 5K or something.
was it invite only though, or did you have to
No.
qualify? Anybody could do it.
I think it was.
The Van
Whoever
Air Series.
Yeah.
expressed interest in being in it,
Yeah.
I think Brillo would kind of make a call.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're in or you're not.
Surfing had so much money and events and
Yeah.
advertising
But
budgets back
but there
then.
was all these different subculture
Yeah,
events that had a place and
Yes.
had a purpose.
Yeah.
Like you needed to support it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could get insane video footage out of it. You could, you get print out of it, and then like there was it's a good return on your investment for the people supporting it.
Yeah. And you had a good kind of cast of characters who were doing those. You had
they're the outcasts almost.
That's where Kersey started.
Yeah. Kersey dominated. He was a late bloomer on the
totally
tour.
Totally.
Or QS to the CT.
Totally. And so I would say out of like my later professional competing experience, I actually identified with the air show guys more than the QS guys.
Yeah.
Like I had way more fun doing that, and I enjoyed trying progressive moves and just going full send as opposed to windshield wiper.
To the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of you were kind of like free surf guy, and then Wellesley said, no, I'll put you on tour.
Yep.
Then you
did 2 years. And then it was kind of like, hey, guys, like, you're making your paycheck and you get that cool time where you're like, hey, do you think I could get a little extra? Because I was getting a lot of coverage and everything.
Yeah.
And at the time, my contract was coming up, and I asked for a bump from them, and I had a couple other brands interested, and it was Lost, Rusty, and Body Glove. And of the three, I was just like, yeah, definitely not going to go with Body Glove, right?
Yeah. just because
it's good to have in the back pocket.
Yeah. But I was like, that was just. I grew up, like I told you guys earlier, watching the Lost videos.
Yeah.
Loved those guys.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm all about this.
So contract season.
Yeah.
And you had all these people, but you wanted to stay with Quick.
You had options, which was, rare because you were producing.
Yeah, and that was that. I was fortunate, and I was stoked, and I went to ASR. So go to ASR. Met with, I forget who was doing Lost at the time, but, met Riola. And this was like prime, when ASR was a giant party. Everyone was hammered. And I was stoked on that and everything.
Yeah, they were.
And then Rusty was Ryan Dival at the time. And I really liked Dival and, talking to those guys. But the thing with them was you got to ride the boards too. And I was a little iffy.
You still riding
that.
on Kenoshitas?
Actually, at the time, I was Patterson. When I moved out here, I ended up doing a little stint with Patterson and then Xanadu.
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 Xanadu. Hey, bro, you got to do some of the WQS, bro.
We're not putting fin systems. We're doing glass on.
Yeah. I'd be like, hey, can you make this same board? I love this board. It's awesome. I'd go pick it up. He'd be like, yeah, so I made you the same board, but I made swallowtail and different thickness and different... And you're like, okay,
same thing, though.
Completely different board. Right on. Okay. I'm out.
So great.
I mean, but some of his boards, man, for the first 5 sessions before they would literally like break under your feet, like, oh my God, those things were magic, dude.
Yeah, I had a couple
He's
really
a great
good
shaper.
ones. Yeah,
He's a great personality.
Yeah,
totally.
We're gonna have to get him on the show too.
You should get Xanadu on, dude.
Yeah.
He's a ledge.
And Patterson.
Man.
Who was telling us that he wanted to get, they asked for a board and it took months to get, was it Gurr?
Gurr.
Yeah.
Gurr.
So Gurr's like, kind of retired from the tours, taking some time off, and he's like, I think Xanadu hit him up, like, I want to shape you a board. And he's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And then like a couple months later, he's like, hey, I thought you were going to shape me a board. He's like,
what? Hey, Brad,
no, I'm busy. I said, yeah. And then a couple months later, and Gurr finally called him out, like, fine, don't shoot me a board. I don't need it. Like, I got all it. It was just like...
He's such a trip, dude.
Yeah.
He's such a trip, but in a great way.
In a great way.
Yeah.
Like, great vibes.
It's so epic.
Yeah, he was awesome. So I kind of bounced around on board guys for a little while there.
Which is good to mature and kind of,
Yeah.
So
cross check.
You're going on. Yeah. How did you end up with Body Glove? You were talking to.
So I was
Rusty,
talking to those 3 guys,
Yeah.
and Body Glove was like my last choice, honestly. And it's just, it all comes down to the people, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Who
that I'm older.
Who was the guy you were talking to at Body Glove?
So I went over to the Body Glove booth, and Greg Browning was the
Sick.
guy. And
GB.
Jeebs, yeah. And talked to Greg, and then the marketing director above him was Scott Daly. Who's epic
great.
too.
Yeah.
So I met those guys, just started hanging out with them, and I ended up hanging out the rest of the day, going to dinner with them, and I was just like, dude, Browning, like, I mean, like, I can't
Coolest
believe I'm
cat.
saying this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I really kind of like these guys the best.
Yeah.
You're
You know?
24, 25?
Yeah, about that. 24,
And was
25.
J.O.B. on it or on the program?
No,
Yeah.
no. So it was, they were just launching apparel,
Yep.
which was the reason I was kind of getting approached by them. And Lostness was the first guy that they had locked in. And then Dion Agius.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dion wrote for him?
Yeah, he was for a little bit. Yeah, he
Yeah.
had a minute. It was before he got huge.
Hipster?
Yeah, totally.
The wave pool.
Love Dion,
Wave
by the
pool.
way. So the three of us, I ended up going to Body Glove. You know, they gave me a nice, nice pay raise as far as what I was getting from Quick, and I wasn't a small fish in a giant pond. I was a little more, and it was a little more. It's a family-owned business,
Yeah.
or it was
Yeah.
at the time, and ended up just feeling like the right place to be, and just working with Greg, man, he was so awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so well-rounded with experience from the
Taylor
contest
Steele.
side to the filming side
Yeah.
to starting a brand side
Dude.
to, so much
Yeah.
knowledge.
Well, I mean, to be honest, the brand that I always wanted to ride for, and I think all of us, maybe you guys would agree, would be huge right now, it's 17.
For sure.
17 was the shit.
I was thinking that right before you said it. And that would have been
They were the shit.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
They were the
So
shit.
we, Taylor Steele's blowing up. They got 17 right next door, and
Yeah.
and
It was on a mission first.
well, separate. But
I know,
but
that was the first company.
Yeah,
those
with
guys
all those
started.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Jason and Conan and Greg and Taylor were they were the the guys.
The guys.
But it was
Yeah.
So
it was
rad.
so rad.
yeah.
Dude,
So too early, but yet not, they just got
So what
they
is
just got hosed. They got hosed. They got hosed.
They got hosed.
Yeah.
Full.
So you sign a contract with
Body Glove.
and what do they want you to do?
They just wanted me to do the free surf thing,
Yeah.
which was epic.
Yeah.
And at the time, Greg was the team / media guy.
Yeah.
He did all their in-house film work and all that.
Was he still doing the drive-throughs on the side?
He was.
Yeah.
That was like towards the end, right around
Yeah.
that time. I think the last ones he did when I was there was like South Africa and then the Caribbean.
Yep.
I don't know if he did another one after that. Maybe New Zealand. But so got to work with him, and the cool thing about Body Glove that I learned was they were, a licensed out company. So Body Glove Japan, Body Glove Australia, they were all different, and they all kind of had their own brand needs where, they wanted to create videos with the pro surf team, and we were the office that
Content provider.
Yeah, exactly. So I got to go to all these like really cool areas where Body Glove had different licensed out brands, and so we did a lot of trips to Japan. We did trips to Bali, and Greg was the guy who would film them all, and we just traveled together and made killer videos and content and whatnot. And I think we're a little early for this to make any impact at all, but we ended up doing like little vlog type videos, where we would just do a trip and make an edit and put it out on YouTube, but like way before it
was
kind
a
of blew
thing.
up to what it is now,
Crazy.
Kind of like a pre-hype, like what do you call it? Trailers?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna put out.
We had a little run with one that, I mean, it was back when Transworld Surf would post whatever you put up, so we had a little run of it.
Pre-Instagram. But YouTube was out.
Yeah, we had a little run with, it was a little video series we made called The Cheyne Show, and we would just go, like there's one you guys would probably get a kick out of. It's called 3 Snakes, 1 Cup.
2 girls, 1 cup, 3 snakes, 1 cup.
So we went to Bali, and have you ever done that in Bali where you can drink the snake's blood?
I've never drank the snake's blood.
Dude, there's a
I've
place...
drank the shroom shake blood.
Midnight oil.
Yeah, those are fun, right?
Mushroom
like the
blood.
chaga, the protein ones.
Earthy.
But no,
Healthy.
we would go and just Greg ended up having a filmer under him at this time who I became really good friends with, and we would just travel to wherever, like Bali in the summer, Hawaii in the winter, Maui, whatever, and we would just make little clips. Yeah, it was awesome.
Bummer.
Yeah, totally sucked. And then I ended up riding for Body Glove the rest of my, surfing career,
Yeah.
essentially.
That's amazing. And you mentioned you rode for Osiris.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I had to.
Yeah.
Your dad's part owner of that?
Yeah, he started.
When did your dad? Because he started. What was it?
I had to.
What was it? Yeah.
Did you get paid though?
Yeah, definitely.
When was
good money. Because Osiris.
When did it
Osiris
start?
blew up.
But when did Osiris? When did he start it?
I think it was like 95.
95.
So he
somewhere
started
around there.
Osiris?
Him and this guy,
Doug Weston?
Brian Reed,
Oh,
Doug
Brian.
Weston
Okay.
was part. He was the sales guy.
Yeah.
And he's one of the founders. And then they had an investor, this guy Tony Chen, and they're great guys. They went from Evil, the snowboards, EVOL, and they started making Evil footwear. And the footwear started doing good, and they were like, you know what? Let's do like a whole new just footwear brand, because at the time DC was just kind of really killing it, and there wasn't a lot in the marketplace for
And there was
skate
need,
shoes.
and there was you could put anything out there, and the need was there. And
Talk about the D3 though. I mean,
Oh, dude!
Of course, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about the D3.
Yeah.
come on,
I have
Only.
a good D3 story.
Only.
So D3 obviously like the biggest.
You know
shoe
Vice.
ever.
Sorry to interrupt.
I
you.
watched it.
Did you watch it? I'm
Of
going to
course.
watch it after.
Yeah.
Vice did
I
a.
want to hear the
A
real
whole
story of the
special.
D3. I want to hear the real story of the D3 though. I've been dying to
The
get
Vice,
it. That's the whole
had,
one.
well, I didn't know all the details of the creation. Like I was just a Grom at the time. Like I thought, Dave Mayhew designed this shoe. So that's what I thought.
Which we are all led to believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think there's elements of it that he did bring to the table. Like watch the Vice thing. It's pretty detailed. Like
Did you ask your dad? Not yet.
I've taught. He's kind of weighed in on it, but I'll watch the Vice thing and you can form your own opinion. Like my opinion on it is it's a collaboration, but obviously there's people who are paid to design shoes, and that's like the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But if I were those guys, honestly, it'd just be like, hey, you helped and I helped. That's how I.
But when it becomes such a huge success, somebody wants to take all the
Okay,
credit.
for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
the D3 is one of the best-selling skate shoes
ever.
of all time.
Yep.
And
It wasn't
Dave
the skate
Mayhew is the guy whose name is on it, who's made a lot of money from it.
Yep.
And the folklore story is that he was supposed to show up, and they were all supposed to pick their pro shoe model. And because he thought whatever, I don't know why or what, but he didn't show up to the meeting, and they basically gave him the shoe.
So-
like, this is what your shoe's going to be.
That's I would call BS on.
Okay.
That's
That's what I heard.
That's what everyone knows
See,
in the
so
skate world.
It's a great
That's what.
story. It's
Yeah,
great.
that's
they're like
the
very
mystere.
signature like big loops when you lace it, like those side big loops. Mayhew found a shoe that was similar to that. I think it was like a hiking shoe, like in REI or something.
extra support.
Yeah, and that was kind of his contribution to the design of it. He's like, I really like these loops. I don't know if that was the only contribution, but that is arguably the kind of
His
Design.
his
Yeah.
kind of
Foresight.
signature on it. And then you got the airbags, and there's obviously a whole bunch of things that go into a shoe
Yeah.
design. But I think he didn't show up to a meeting at one point, and they made a decision on design without him.
Okay.
And I think that's where
Somewhere in the middle is the truth.
somewhere in the middle is the truth. And I honestly couldn't tell you. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't think my dad never mentioned like one way or the other.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what he would say at this point, and he is in the documentary, but he doesn't really weigh in. So
They made so many of those.
they made
Oh my
so
God.
much money. But
Hey, sorry to cut
no,
you
no, no,
off,
no, go.
But I worked for DVS.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yep.
And I handled international business, and my territory was Australasia, South America, and my Costa Rican distributor told me. In Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
Costa fucking Rica.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you wear shoes down there?
It's a small country, right? a very, very small country with a population of
and you don't even want to wear shoes.
less
No,
than
for real. It's like Hawaii.
less than whatever.
It's too hot.
Like I don't know how many people live there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a million. I don't know. But they did one season $4 million worth of one shoe.
Dude, they cleaned up. Cleaned up.
I was like,
Yeah.
how does that even? He's like, dude, it was like 20 containers or something like that.
Yeah, they went nuts, dude. And then a lot of people ripped it off. So after the fact, they all kind of went around and had to get into lawsuit battles with people, and they ended up winning a lot of them and then they got a lot of money from that too. Like it was insane. It was the best thing ever, and then it was the worst thing ever because you're so invested in that style that like when it went more hesh, it just it went the other way. But my D3 story is Pennywise concert, okay, SDSU, Cox Arena, and this is height of the D3 craziness. And when Brohim comes on at a Pennywise concert and the entire floor turns into a mosh pit. Like the mosh pit goes from, like two times 2x to like 10x.
Yeah.
Everyone starts going, and me and my buddy Kai, who I was living with, we start moshing and we get separated. And when you're moshing and you don't have your shoes tied, like you step out of a shoe.
Yeah.
So I had D3s on. And we get separated, and I'm moshing around, and I step out of my shoe. I'm like, oh shit! And I turn around, and I'm like, oh, it's gone. It's gone. Whatever. Mosh songs in, gets out. Find my buddy Kai, and he's all, I saw you step out of your shoe, and I grabbed it. What? Not my shoe. It was a D3, same side, different size and color. Insane. Insane.
Oh my
Yeah.
That's how popular they were.
Yeah.
$120. It changed the dimension of shoe price.
Oh my god.
Hey,
Yeah.
$120.
Yeah.
So current population of Costa Rica is 5.1 million.
Wow.
Back in, what do you think? 98?
98,
2000?
99.
Yeah.
It was 2000.
It was just over 2 million.
Wow.
So people.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a $4 million PO for Costa Rica.
Yeah.
They didn't stay in Costa Rica.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But still.
You would have been fired, bro.
Yeah.
That
Can I
wasn't
hit
me.
the
I worked
head
for
real
DBS.
quick?
Yeah.
Can I hit the head real
Yeah.
quick? You
Let's
right back?
pause.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Back on.
back. Intermission.
So, you want me to reiterate my dad's stuff?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
crazy.
with the
that
Osiris.
Your dad, honestly, I love the story of Tony Magnusson being pro skater way back in the day, and then how many businesses has that guy started?
So, yeah, that's dude. He's gnarly entrepreneur like that, and he's really passionate, obviously, about skating, and he's always kept it as core as possible. I mean, so 8th Street, Evil, Osiris, and then when Osiris was big, they started doing other brands like the women's line, Copia. And then they had a footwear line for a while, that called 88. It was a little more hesh. And then after that, Osiris kind of blew up recently, actually, only a few years that it kind of dissolved. And they're still around, but he's not a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And then he started doing these board games, actually, believe it or
Board
not.
Like
games?
like family board
Monopoly?
games.
Sort of, like more like a spin on kind of Chinese checkers, and he's from Sweden, so he was good friends with that guy Mattias Ringström, who is another vert skater from Sweden, and they found this game out there that these guys had created called what is it freaking called, Pentago. And they just loved it, and they started importing it. And next thing I know, he's going to toy trade shows in New York, and and
Serial
slanging.
entrepreneur.
Serial entrepreneur.
That's epic.
And then he's restarted 8th Street, so I know they have re-editions, and they do. Yeah, and
Which is smart, because I think that history and the nostalgic, like kind of like what you could draw and inspire the next generation on. I think that could be big.
It's so wild.
And he's got, some of the OG guys, not like officially on board, but like they've
Throwing
let
up
him
a bone.
let him do some reissues like D-Way and Hensley. I know they had some reissues for a while, so I mean he's still at it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever going to stop.
So right.
Yeah.
That's got to be fun, but obviously it's risk taking at the same time, and but if
Your dad's made a lot of money over the years.
I would say Osiris for sure, and yeah, I think so. I have no idea what that could be or couldn't be. I honestly don't.
All right, so going back to you,
Yeah,
Body Glove,
Free
Surfer.
Yep.
Greg Browning.
Yep.
Shane, what was that show?
We had the Cheyne show
Yeah.
for a little bit, and it was just online. They still live on there. You can search them and find them. There's
Well, we will.
some funny ones.
Yeah.
I think you guys will be psyched on them.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. But after that, so did that for a while. Was living in San Diego at the time, and did that until 30. So I rode for them for 5 years as just pro free surf guy. And then at 30, I moved up to South Bay, moved in with the guy who was working under Browning filming, and we became roommates, and I expressed to the brand that I wanted to, work on the other side of the curtain. And kind of obviously always looked up to my dad. Guy's been my hero since I was young. I think that's probably the reason I gravitated towards board sports and everything. And then obviously knowing his history with building brands and being on the other side as well as on the board, wanted to learn it. And wanted to go do that. Just kind of felt like free surfing, especially my generation, like you're only going to go so far,
Yeah.
Like I just thought
you got a shelf life.
Yeah, let's jump into this sooner than later. So they agreed to bring me on as like team manager and help out with all things marketing, and just started working.
And Greg was still involved at that time, and so
Yep.
he did the more behind the scenes.
So I picked up, like, they had him doing all the kind of media and production.
Yeah.
And dealing with all the athletes
Ooh.
and setting up the trips and everything. So
Splitting the workload.
Splitting the work. So I picked up that.
Yeah.
I started immediately doing that. And there was no like, hey, here's what you got to do every day. Like, it was just come in and figure it out.
Yeah.
Which isn't that hard for,
Yeah.
when you're just dealing with guys who kind of want to do the same thing you've been doing, and I kind of
You already know how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew who good team managers were and what I wanted out of a team manager. So I got in and I tried to be that guy for the kids on the team at the time, and then pick up a couple other kids as we were going along.
So at what point did MTV's Maui Fever come into play?
I almost got away with it.
No.
I almost got away with it.
MTV Maui Fever.
Maui Fever reality
Is this-
show.
is this
I thought we were going to make it past
he
it.
fully skipped over it, and I have it written down here.
Good
But so you and the boys.
Thank God for investigative reporting.
Yeah.
Yes, dude, late night.
I want to hear the good stuff. I've never seen
Late
an
night
episode. I
private
remember.
eye services.
I remember hearing about it, but I never watched an episode. Or
That's a good thing.
So
all of our listeners were gonna read.
this is on MTV.
It was on MTV. So before I moved back to California, I was living in Maui. It was after Dogtown. I was on Body Glove. It was after about a year into my first contract with those guys, and I had my own condo down there. I had used the money that I got from the movie to get it, and I was like living the dream, dude. It was sick. I had like a 1-bedroom on Front Street, like just stoked.
Rockstar.
Yeah, hyped.
You were what,
And
25?
25,
Yeah.
24, 25, something like that, yeah. And I was riding my bike down Front Street one day, and there's like a sign outside one of the bars that said, like MTV auditions, or something. And I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? Like in
So
Lahaina.
they were just guerrilla marketing, like the town, like they already had a pitch.
Fully. Like it was
So-
going to happen.
Was the Oahu thing the...
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please give us a 5-star rating and spread the word.
Special thanks to our good friends James Williams for our awesome artwork and Justin Reynolds for the amazing music.